Hello, everyone. This is Logan589XP here, and it has been a hot minute since the last time I have done one of these. Honestly, too long. I mean, I know I had that big break that was like 2 years or wherever, and then I did one again in, I believe, July of last year, and then, of course, I did one in September, and then I haven't done one since. I mean, if you don't count the anniversary streams I did for Smash 4, but I'm not counting those. I'm just talking about the regular Smash streams, just the regular Smash streams, or we just play Ultimate or whatever. I haven't done one of those since September, and frankly, it's overdue. It is overdue, and I was gonna do one about a month ago, but I decided to wait because of all of the news that was coming out, and as I've said many times before, whenever I run out of things to talk about, it gets awkward. So I want to be able to have as much stuff as I can possibly talk about in one fell swoop. And I think because it's been so long since even the last stream I did. I mean, the last stream I did was what? The Mario Kart Direct reaction, which, you know, that wasn't all that important in the end. And then obviously I did the Switch 2 Direct reaction before that. But point is, you know, we got a lot we can talk about, really, in general, but obviously there's going to be a lot of talk about the Switch 2 and all that stuff, as you would expect, because, as you can see by the title of the stream, we are officially 1 month away, and yes, that is also part of the reason why I'm doing this stream today, is because, hey, it's 1 month, you know, from June 5th, so I figured, hey, now is probably about as good a day as any. So yeah, so hey Antonio, and hey Valentine Buster, welcome to the stream. What are your thoughts on the Hulk's villain design in Brave New World? Well, or sorry, not Hulk villain's design, movie design. Well, I still haven't seen Brave New World, right? Is it on Disney Plus yet? I know it's supposed to be added to Disney Plus soon, I think. I don't know. Obviously, I didn't see that movie with him, so I haven't seen that one. I did see Thunderbolts, though. Me and him saw Thunderbolts a few days ago. Actually, a pretty decent movie, I felt. And also, they've already totally spoiled people on it. Um, uh, but the whole thing at the end, Marvel has already completely abandoned trying to cover up the whole Thunderbolts thing. I'm not gonna say what it is in case anyone hasn't seen it and doesn't want to know, but Marvel's doing the spoilers themselves for that one. But yeah, probably it'd be weird not to. I mean, yeah, I've seen every MCU movie in theaters since Captain Marvel. So Captain Marvel, Endgame, Far From Home, all the Phase 4, and then all the Phase 5, except for Brave New World. And that's because there was some complication or whatever. I don't even really know 100% what the situation was with that, but whatever reason, you know, I just didn't end up being included when they went to see it. And, you know, hey, obviously the reviews for it weren't exactly glowing, so it's like, I'm already kind of, you know, the MCU is already on the back burner for me, so hey, I mean, not seeing this one in the theater, it's like, I'll see it on Disney Plus. I mean, I'm gonna see it for the sake of the collection and all that stuff, because, you know, although that has fallen off as time has gone on, this is really one of these days I need to get around to doing, like, the, kind of, you know, the obligatory MCU video, because I haven't done an MCU video in years. And it kind of talking about how I've kind of been going down that slow burn of, like, slowly becoming less and less invested and less interested in what's going on. And that's why, like, honestly, it's like, oh, I skipped the movie? Oh, well. Like, that's the point we're at, which is not great. that I'm kind of at the point where it's like, oh, I didn't see Captain America? I'll see it on Disney Plus when it comes out, just for the checklist or whatever. But anyway, but we're not going to talk about that too much right now. But anyways, so back when I was going to talk about, so before we jump into Smash, and we will be doing that, obviously, there is one other thing that I want to do kind of real quickly, and that's, of course, because a few days ago, the virtual game card update came out for the Switch, of course. But, as we all saw, it's actually more than just the virtual game cards, because, well, that's obviously the big headlining feature, as you can see here, obviously. You can see all my digital stuff, which is not very much, at least in terms of first party. Most of my games are physical, of course, but, you know, also, you know, I got DLC, you know, Splatoon DLC, Smash DLC, Breath of the Wild DLC, all that stuff. You can also see some free-to-play games in here like Overwatch, Paladins, Fall Guys, all the obligatory, games that are free to play and all that stuff. You also have like YouTube and Twitch are on here. They're technically game cards, even though they're not games. So that's kind of weird. But this is this is all just digital stuff, though. Obviously, none of the physical games are in here. Just your digital games and your DLC, essentially. So, like for example, Animal Crossing is one of the few games that I have that's first party that's digital, and that's because, of course, Animal Crossing was like massive when it came out because it came out at literally the perfect time, right as the pandemic was winding up. So it was the perfect game at the perfect time. I've said it before. I will say it until the end of the earth because it's true. That game sold so well because it was the perfect game at the perfect time, and because it was so highly in demand at the time, the physical version was like, it would have taken like a week to get it at Amazon. So I was like, well, I'm not gonna wait a week to get this game physically, so I'll just buy it digitally and take the hit. So I have it digitally. I also have, of course, the DLC, which I haven't played, the Happy Home Paradise, not Designer. I keep wanting to say Designer because I remember the original 3DS spin-off Happy Home Designer from back in the day. But yeah, I never got around to playing like that, but obviously I have it because I have the expansion pack and all that stuff. But anyways, yeah, so we got the virtual game card thing. That's obviously been kind of like the big headlining thing, and there's been some controversy with how it's been handled and all that stuff. But of course, aside from that, we have a couple of other big things that we did not know about. Like, for example, the game share option, which right now is completely useless because it requires the Switch 2 to work. So this is completely worthless for now. In a month, it won't be, but right now, this is a worthless option. Obviously, because the Switch has, the better encoder and stuff to actually handle all the different streams, and you can't do it with just Switch 1s. You need a Switch 2 to initiate it, that whole thing. But, yeah, so searching for game share. Yeah, you're not going to find it. So, yeah, I'm a little surprised they included... I mean, we knew game share was going to be on the Switch 1 because they mentioned that in the Switch 2 Direct. But I don't think anyone expected them to include it right now, because right now it's useless. There's no reason for it to be included. I mean, it's nice to have a new icon and a new sound effect. Listen, right? That's a new sound effect. That's something, right? Look, we'll take what we can get when it comes to new stuff in the Switch UI. Having a new icon with a new sound effect is something. And then obviously the virtual game cards has a new sound effect as well. Although it's not as distinguishable as the other one. But anyways, so yeah, game share's there, but it's useless for right now. Then obviously we have the virtual game card thing. We also have the news icon is updated. It's the same news it's always been. There's nothing different about it at all. But the icon is just a different color. Ooh, different color. And you want to know what's weird? It's not even the same icon as it's going to be on the Switch 2. Because on the Switch 2, it's going to be a new icon that's also green, but the icon itself is different. But for the Switch 1 update, they didn't add the new icon, they just changed the color so it's green, which is kind of weird. But of course, we also got, shocker, big headlining feature right here, the Red eShop. Woo! I mean, I'm not complaining. I mean, red's my favorite color, so I'm biased. But also, I mean, obviously red is Nintendo's main color these days, so it makes sense. I mean, it's still as slow and laggy as it's always been, although, of course, once the Switch 2 comes out, that won't matter. But, I mean, hey, it's, again, like the icon, it's something, I get it, that's their main color. Obviously, it's been, red used to be their main color way back in the day, but then, of course, during the Iwata era, gray and white was kind of their color, and then, of course, starting with the Switch era, actually a little before that, in 2016 with the rollout of My Nintendo and Miitomo, even in the very end of the Wii U 3DS era, they actually were already rolling out the current, red and white logo that we all know now. And of course the Switch is all about red, red boxes, red on the website, everything's red now. Which again, I'm biased because red's my favorite color, so of course I'm all for that. But yeah, I mean it's cool. It's something different, But yeah, but it's just a cosmetic thing. The eShop, it's not the Switch 2 eShop, because the Switch 2 eShop is gonna have a new look. This is not that. They literally just changed the color. But hey, it's something. And then, of course, Valentine Buster already brought this up, but yes. Now, this one I do understand. This one I do understand why they're including right now. And that's, of course, the system transfer option, which is actually worth having right now. Because if you're gonna sell your Switch 2 so you can get to pay for a Switch 2, then obviously you don't want to lose all your data. So you can do the thing where you can upload to the cloud. You can do local or a cloud. I'm just gonna do the local option personally, since I'm not gonna be selling my current Switch for the time being. Because one, I wouldn't do it anyway probably, and also because I literally need to hold on to it for homebrew support, because the Switch 2 is not going to have homebrew probably for a while. At least not an easy homebrew method where, something akin to like the RCM, type deal. I mean, obviously that exact method long has stopped since working on newer Switches, but you get my point, there's not going to be an easy way to homebrew the Switch 2 for a while, so the Switch 1 will still have a purpose for that reason alone, if nothing else. So I'll just do the local method, but yeah, so if you don't have it yet, then you can upload to the server. And I forget which one it is. I want to say it's the local, is it the local? No, I think it's the server one. Which is the one where it deletes all your data? Because I know one of these two methods is the one where, like, if you do it, it will reformat your current Switch. I want to say it's the server method, which I'm not doing again. I'm just going to do the local method when I get it. But yeah, but I know if you do one of the methods, and I believe it's the server method, that's the one where if you do it, it will reformat your Switch. So don't do that unless you're getting rid of it. If you're getting rid of it so you can, sell it to pay for a Switch 2, then do it that way. But if you're gonna have your Switch and the Switch 2 for even a brief amount of time, then don't do it, because they'll format your system, I believe, is how that works. But yeah, again, I'm just going to do the local thing. But yeah, so the system transfer thing is there. Again, it makes sense because, again, if you're going to sell your Switch, whatever, you can do the cloud option. But I'm just going to do the local option. And then, last but not least, at least for notable changes, is, of course, the continued change of DK is continuing because, as I'm sure people have probably seen, there it is. So if it wasn't blatantly obvious that this is DK going forward, I mean, that was already set in stone when we got Bonanza announced. Like, that was the nail in the coffin, right? I mean, first, we had Mario Kart. No, we had the movie. Then we had Mario Kart. Then we had Bonanza. Now we have this. Again, if it wasn't insanely blatantly obvious that this is his design for like the next 10 years at least, probably. I mean, they just straight up replaced the old icon. They've also updated some of the other icons to be a bit more modern, which is nice, but yeah. So anyways, that's about all. I don't know. I just kind of wanted to go over all the new system stuff because, hey, this is the Switch we're talking about, and the Switch famously gets very few new features and updates. So when it exists and in a substantial number, I want to go over it. But now with that being said, let's actually get into what we're here for, which of course is the Super of the Smash of the Brothers of the Ultimate on the Nintendo Switch family of systems. And soon to be on Switch 2, or at least be playable on Switch 2, but we'll get to that whole thing in a sec. Alrighty here. Oh, and by the way, so, one last quick thing. So, as of right now, there is no official release for Atmosphere for version 20. But, if you go on the GitHub and you go to, like, the issues page and you look at the official, like, version 20, like, kind of thing for it, the guy put up what he called a pre-release that you can use, which is what I'm using right now. Don't believe me? There it is. So even though it's not officially released yet, he says he's going to be putting out in a couple of days. I do have it running and everything does work. There's also a new version of NX Dump Tool you can get that also will work. The App Store works, FTP works. I haven't tried the themes installer. As you probably have already noticed, I'm not using my Persona 5 background that I've been using for the last like 4 or 5 years. And that's actually, I was already going to do that even before this update because well, we're going back to black and white on the Switch too, so I may as well get used to having a black background now, right? But yeah, but SysClick works. There's not a new version of SysClick. This is just the existing one, but it just works once you get the... There's also a new version of... I'm going to butcher it if I try to pronounce it, but it's like Hikate, I think is what it's called. I'm probably butchering the name. That's probably not how you say it. But there's also a pre-release version of that you can get. And if you install that along with the pre-release atmosphere, then SysClick will work. And therefore, you know, I got everything. Of course, I have all the games turned up all the way. Not that it matters for Smash at all. Smash runs just fine at stock, but, you know, there's no downside, at least with the regular version of SysClick. I know there's, like, the overclock fork that I haven't messed with personally, but just the regular version of SysClick, you can just crank the settings all the way up and you'll be fine. You got nothing to worry about. So I just did that for, like, all the games I have, basically. But anyways, okay, let's finally get into this sucker. Oops, wait. Okay, that's weird. It was doing that earlier, too. I'm not really sure why. Maybe it's because of, maybe it's the pre-release firmware that's causing that issue. I don't know. Anyway, alrighty. Yeah, it has been a while. It has been a while. It hasn't actually been that long since I've played this game, though, because about a few weeks ago, I was actually going through and kind of completing a couple of things I still hadn't done already, like I still hadn't completed all of the classic mode. I still hadn't completed all of the classic modes. So yeah, there we go in the top, right? You know, Smash version 13.0.3, the newest version, and then Arc Acropolis version 4.0.6. All that still works, a-okay. So I'll get my Actually in Order CSS, and I'll get my Windows XP background and all that stuff. But yeah, so I took a really long time to get around to finishing classic mode. So a few weeks ago, I just went ahead and I finished all of them, so... Yeah, look at that. Ooh, I have a medal on all of them now, so that's something. Yeah, that took me way too long to do, I know. I should have done that forever ago. I also went ahead and got, I think, all of, like, the rest of, like, the... Not the DLCs, like, not the regular DLC spirits, but, like, the ones that they put out like after the game was done. Like, you know, they put out spirits for like Wonder and Princess Peach Showtime and Xenoblade 3 and stuff. So I also made sure I got those. But anyways, enough about all that. Let's get to let me just go ahead and actually make sure that everything is set up correctly with this. It should be. I only have a couple of things turned on, really. See, I got my Dragon Quest Orchestra. That's a mandatory thing. If you are going to mod Ultimate, this is not optional. This is a requirement. This is mandatory as far as I'm concerned. Because it fixes a problem that shouldn't have even been a problem in the first place because of Sugiyama, I assume, being stingy with his copyrights. Where he only gave us the MIDI versions, and we couldn't have the orchestral versions. But hey, well, you get this, you fix that. And then, of course, I have the Windows XP background. I have unrestricted camera, which won't really matter for what we're doing, but if you're taking, like, screenshots or trying to do stuff for videos, that's nice. And then, of course, the Action Order CSS, which is actually a mod that I made, although I'm not claiming to be some modding genius. I'm far from it. I just used a website to make it, essentially. But, yeah, I've been using that for years, which I will lose on the Switch, too, at least for a time, so that'll be unfortunate, again, until all the homebrew stuff gets going there. But anyways, okay, let's finally do this. I've been talking and rambling for too long and not playing the game. The amount of regret I had over time for getting rid of my 2017 Switch. Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I didn't get the OLED. I mean, the main reason I didn't get the OLED was because it was the Switch Pro without the Pro. And I don't play in handheld mode, so for me it was pointless. And I lose mod support. And I lose homebrew in the process. I know you can homebrew, you know, the Mariko, the Tegra X1, you know, Onward. I know you can do it, but it's way more effort than it is with a 2017 era Switch, so... Yeah, I'll stick with my good old RCM, you know, slide the red thing on the rail method, thank you very much. But, yeah, so I don't know, we'll probably just do I mean, does Stage Morph even work online? I don't think it does. I kind of wish it did, actually. Yeah, no, it doesn't. That's a shame. If it did, I actually would like to use that, but... Yes, I don't know. What even do I have for standard? I haven't looked at it in forever. Is items off for standard? I kind of want to turn items on. You know, I haven't used that. I do like playing with items, but we normally don't play with items when we do these streams. I don't know. Maybe we'll start without it and we'll add it later. I don't know. We'll just do standard for the time being. And then max players. Jump that up to 8. Change the music. Oh, you want to know something I still haven't done? I still haven't gotten the final Kingdom Hearts one, the one where you need like the save data from Melody of Memories. I've been meaning to like homebrew. I've been meaning to like, you know, get like a save file and like put it on the system with like homebrew or whatever, but I just haven't gotten around to it. Because obviously I'm not going to buy the game just to get that one song, so I'm just going to find save data and put it on the Switch at some point. Save data, you know, for the game, not new ultimate save data. You get what I mean, but anyway. Oh, I forgot you could use Amiibo online. I haven't used my Amiibo for Smash in a really, really long time. I used to do that a decent bit with Smash 4 because that was back when Amiibo was new, but... Password. How about no password? It defeats the entire purpose of the stream if there's a password. Man. We need a whole stack of Linux if I wanted to mod it today. I mean... So, like, what Switch do you have? Like, do you have, like, the red box Switch, or an OLED, or a light? Like, what do you have? I mean, you obviously have one of those three. But... Yeah, because I just have, I'm still rocking my April 2017 practically launch unit. Been running that for 8 years, and it is tired. It's needed some, it's honestly been slowly kind of like falling apart. I mean, not in a way that like matters or anything, but like the back of it has been slowly cracking around the corners for a long time. The top ventilation part is like half broken. It still works, but it's yeah, it is definitely hey, only one more month. Only one more month, then it will officially be retired for the most part. It just has to survive one more month. Normal Switch, its battery change model. So yeah, the red box Switch. The red box Switch is kind of like what people like to call the 2019 onward Switch that has the updated Tegra that patches out the RCM method. So yeah, the red box Switch. That's the one. And yeah, that's the one that also has the bigger battery. So yeah, the red box Switch you got in 2020. My original broke, and I got driven no matter what controller I got. Oh yeah, that definitely sucks. Oh yeah, you also mentioned that you got like a Pro controller recently. Like I assume, like is it just like a regular Pro controller? I mean, not that there's been a new Special Edition one for a while, but I'm just curious. Because I have 3 Pro controllers. I have a regular Pro controller that I got in April 2017. Not when I got the system, but later that month when Mario Kart 8 Deluxe came out. I got that controller alongside it. And then I have a Splatoon 2 Pro controller, which is the one I'm using right now. And that one I got, of course, when Splatoon 2 came out. And then I have the Smash Ultimate controller from, of course, the bundle when that came out. Although I actually had it sent in and replaced at one point because it did eventually get drift. The one and only time I've had drift on a Pro controller. Because, of course, when people talk about drift, it's mostly the Joy-Cons, you know, that have been talking, you know, that's been the main thing. But apparently it does happen on Pro controllers sometimes, too. I just happened to get it, yeah, I just happened to lose that draw with the Smash controller, unfortunately. But I got it fixed and replaced, and it's actually brand new. Still has the plastic on the top, and I haven't used it since I've got it, and that's because I'm gonna use it when I get the Switch 2, because I'm not gonna have the Switch 2 Pro controller at launch. I'd like to have one at some point, but obviously it's a minor upgrade, and it's, you know, $85. Eventually, probably when they put out a special edition controller I like. But all the old controllers will work, so I'll just run that Smash controller for the time being. But anyways, I don't think I have you added on Switch. Do I need to do it for the arena? I don't think you have to. As long as it's open, you should just be able to like find it. I think as long as you have the ID. Although that was actually something I was thinking about. I was like, are you on my friends list? Like, I'm like, I would find that hard to believe that you weren't on my friends list already. But I mean, obviously, if you aren't, then of course I'll add you. But yeah. Anyways, so we're gonna do, of course, the obligatory. Yes, it's blatant, but there's a reason for it, because I want people to be in the chat, and they won't be in the chat if I don't tell them. So we're gonna be blatant about it. 'Cause that's the whole point, right? That's the whole point. I've done this with Twitch 1,000 times, and I'm not streaming to Twitch right now, by the way. I'm not doing the multi-stream thing at the moment. I'm just doing YouTube. I'm putting the app in there because, of course, now they have an app for everything. Which is good, because for the longest time, my original URL from, like, 2015 was still being, like, used as, like, the default. Like, I had, like, a custom URL, but, like, it would still default to, like, Nintendo Addict 8.1 or whatever. But now that's apparently gone. Now everything is, YouTube / and then your channel's name. That's now how it works for all your channels. So, main channel, secondary channel, all the other channels, it's now fixed. Anyways, oh yeah. Hold on. I guess adding that, I mean, I don't need to have the @ I really don't need the @ I don't need the @ That's not needed. I just wanted to be all official like that. YouTube.com/Logan5MinuteXP. Okay, and here we go. Finally, 30 minutes in, we're actually starting the thing we're here for. I know. So I guess I think I've already hinted at it a couple of times, but just to make it official, because I was going to do a blog, not blog post. I haven't used the blog in forever. I need to get around to using that again. I was going to make a community post about this when it happened, but I didn't want to jinx it, so I didn't say anything. But I've already hinted at it a couple of times, so I'll just go ahead and say it. When the floodgates were opened on April 23rd at 9 p.m. for at least us over here on the West Coast, I was able to secure a Switch 2. I was going to do Best Buy, but Best Buy didn't open for like 20 minutes, so I gave up on that. Target was just a disaster. Target just did not want to work, no matter how hard I tried. I kept going, I kept trying to confirm over and over and over, but it kept giving me error messages, but it wouldn't tell me what the error was. But eventually I tried on my phone, and then it gave me a different error that basically said, hey, our systems are overloaded right now. Like, yeah, no duh, the entire internet's descending upon them at once. But then eventually, Walmart, I had Walmart up as well. I had all the sites up and ready with all my information ready, obviously, so I could just jump on whatever one was available, or whichever one decided to work. But Walmart had like a queue. They had like a digital queue, and I was in that. And then once it opened, I went to the page, I clicked add to cart, I went to checkout, I clicked order, and it worked. And it hasn't been canceled yet. It still hasn't been canceled 2 weeks later, so I assume that I'm in the clear, so assuming nothing else happens, the Switch 2, for me at least, is secure. So I'm pretty happy about that. I've never had a console at launch before, so that'll be cool. And obviously I gotta have Mario Kart, so I got the bundle for that. I mean, I debated ponying up the extra $30 to get like the physical version, because I really want to have a physical copy, but I'd like to put off having to pay $80 for a game as much as possible. And Mario Kart's not the most important thing in the world, so I just was like, I'll just get the bundle. So, yeah. I do indeed have a Switch 2 pre-order locked in. I do have the sign up for the My Nintendo Store thing as well, though. I did sign up for that when that went up on April 2nd. Now, the invites are supposed to go out. They're supposed to go out, I believe, in a few days. They're supposed to go out on the 8th. Now, if I get picked for that, what I'm going to do with that is one of my friends decided to not do the April 23rd madness and decided that he was just going to wait for the My Nintendo Store stuff. And he signed up for that too. So kind of my thinking was like, hey, I obviously do not need another Switch 2. I mean, you know, or anything. Also, I don't have $1,000 to blow on 2 Switch 2s. Not that I need another one anyway, but... So here's what I'll do. If you don't get an invite for that first round, but I do, then you can use mine, and he can just, you know, come over and pick up the console when it arrives or whatever. So that's kind of what we decide upon. So, you know, so when the invites go out on the 8th, if he doesn't get one but I do, then, you know, we'll kind of work that out. And yeah, so that'll be his way of getting one, you know, although it might not be on the literal day, because Nintendo has already said, you know, but first in Japan, then they said it for everyone else, that, like, you know, there's an overwhelming demand, and, you know, you might not get it on day one, or whatever. Which, for what it's worth, he's not that fussed about. I mean, obviously, like, I mean, he wants one, but he doesn't want one, like, so badly that he needs it day one. He can wait a few days, or maybe even weeks. It probably wouldn't kill him. That would bother me, but for him, that's not a big deal. But the point is, as long as he gets one, that's what matters. Just having one secured, you know, that's kind of the main thing that matters, even if you don't get it on the day. But since I'm getting mine from Walmart, though, although I didn't have any strong preference for who it was from, I would have taken any of the 4. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, now Walmart, by sheer coincidence, has a delivery by 9 a.m. thing that they're claiming. I mean, we'll see how that pans out on the day, but they claim that they're gonna have the Switch 2s, you know, delivered. Well, that was a total fail right there. They're gonna have Switch 2s delivered, you know, by like 9 a.m., which means that I'll wake up and it'll just be there on paper, which would be pretty awesome. Not having to wait for the truck to come or having to, you know, drive there and pick it up. You know, I can just wake up and it'll just be right there, you know? I'll be pretty awesome, right? Again, obviously, we'll see how that pans out. Maybe it won't show up until a little later. Maybe it'll show up later in the day. You never know. But they claim 9 a.m., so I'm hoping that that actually sticks. So, yeah, that's kind of that whole little story. Yeah, I I don't even know what I was doing right there. But, oh, I forgot to put up the ID. Hold on, I forgot to put up the ID. Let me put up the ID. That's the old ID from the last stream in, like, September. Let me update it with the new one. 5T Q6. There we go. Okay. Do you have your friend code on standby? It is on the About page for the channel. It's on there. So obviously you can go ahead and send that to me and all that when you can. I feel like I haven't played as Robin as much as I used to. I mean, you could probably say that for a lot of the Smash 4 characters. I mean, obviously, I played them a lot in Smash 4 because they were new then, but I actually like Robin. I'd say Robin is probably my favorite, like, like, traditional sword character. I mean, I know there's not that much of them. I know that's, like, the whole meme or whatever, but... Like, you know, not counting, you know, your Marths and your Roys and all that stuff. I actually like Robin quite a bit. Like, I hope Robin, like, sticks around. I mean, I think we're gonna get one of the Awakening characters will stick, you know, because Awakening is, like, a big deal. But, you know, I don't know, we'll see. That's a whole other conversation right there. I don't know why I did that. Playing Kazuya has piqued my interest in playing Tekken 8 again. Yeah, I never played any of the Tekken games. I've played, in terms of like other fighting games, the only other ones I've really played is I've played a bit of Street Fighter 5. Like, cause years ago they like gave it away on PSN on PlayStation Plus, so I played a little bit of it. I think that's about the only one I've really played, though. You know, I haven't really played any of the quote real fighting games. You know, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Soul Calibur, Tekken, Guilty Gear, so on. I haven't really played. Okay, I have played a bit of Dragon Ball Fighters. I've played a bit of that. It's probably the one I've put the most amount of time into, but it's still not that many, not that much. So I am not good at it at all, but I have played that a decent bit. I played Street Fighter 6, but I haven't played much recently because I had to sorry, I beat my friend so bad he permanently rage quit. Yeah, I'm sure that like Street Fighter 6 will get added to like PSN at some point, and I'll probably give it a shot then, although by that point I don't know if it'll really be relevant, but yeah, I don't really have a strong interest in any of like the main fighting game franchises, to be honest. Just not really something that's really my thing all that much, but obviously they got a following, and that's cool and all. It's just not really my thing, for the most part. So wait a second. This is not you I'm fighting against. Because you've been posting in the chat and you wouldn't be able to do that if you were playing. So this is not you I'm fighting against. I mean, I know you're not on the friends list apparently, but like you should be able to join just with the ID, I think. Isn't that how that worked? Oh, you just joined. Okay, so you're in the lobby then. Okay. Oh, wow. Threw me off right there. I forgot that the UI gets flipped around when that happens. Alrighty, I'll take that. Imagine if this stage wasn't banned in competitive Smash. Well, I mean, well, obviously the hazards would be turned off, so all that stuff wouldn't be happening. Oh, we got someone else in here as well. D True of Lucas. Alrighty, Smashville. Pokeflix is the only stage that matters. You wanna know what's funny is I feel like years ago I would have been like, you know, that obviously, oh, you know, we should totally get that back. But and I think it would be neat if we got it back. But like, would I actually play on it? You know? I mean, by its very nature, it's probably like one of the least like playable stages, if that makes any sense. Just kind of by how it works. I mean, it'd still be neat if we had it back, though, but... There are other stages that are higher up on the totem pole that I want to see come back first, like Mute City from Melee. Like, I'd like to see that come back. I know we have Port Town Arrow Dive, and it's a similar stage, but I don't know, I just want the original. Also, Jungle Hijinks would be really cool. I really like the gimmick on that stage. You know, where you know, you can go back and forth in the background and foreground. I think that's really cool, a gimmick. That'd be one I'd like to see come back. You know, speaking of stages coming back, you know, something I have been thinking about ever since April 2nd is kind of like, and this is something I do want to do a video on, and by a video on, I don't mean a discussion, I mean like an actual video, like a real video, which I know I haven't done in like 3 years, but like, this might be a big enough thing for me that I can actually like get around to actually doing it, but obviously we'll see with my track record of like saying I'm gonna do something and then it doesn't happen. But I have been thinking about, you know, what's going to happen with Smash on the Switch 2, because before April 2nd, my answer would be, oh, they're currently working on it, and it will probably come out, it will come out in, like, holiday 2026. I mean, it could theoretically come out in 2025. It technically would be possible. It's been long enough since Sora that could be possible, but I was thinking, they'll push it 1 year. Because they normally don't do it in the first year. They always do it in, like, the second or third year. So I figured, you know, holiday 2026, you know, kind of a similar time frame as we had for the Switch and Ultimate. But remember, that was before April 2nd. That was before we found out new information that radically changes that entire idea completely. Because on April 2nd, we found out what Sakurai's secret project was. Which, of course, he talked about in his big finale special he did on his channel, that he proposed in 2021 during the end of Ultimate's DLC, and he started full development on, I believe, in April of 2022. So he's been working on that game for 3 years, and we didn't know what it was. Everyone had their theory, you know, it's this, it's that. My default assumption was that it was probably just Smash 6. Like, realistically, that's probably all it was. But of course we found out that no, that it's not Smash 6, it's not Kid Icarus, it's not some new IP. No, the game that was Air Riders, the long-awaited sequel to the last Kirby game that he ever made 22 years ago. Which is neat. It's cool that we're getting that game, but that completely threw off my entire preconception for how this whole thing is going to work. Because obviously, and it's been confirmed from Sakurai that the team working on Air Riders is the Smash 4 Ultimate Bandai Namco team. That is their next game that they've been working on. So my assumption is that they didn't work on Smash 6 alongside it. No, this is their game, and this is what they're doing. And it's not until after that game comes out later this year that they'll move on to Smash 6, presumably. But that means that the game won't start proper development until probably like early 2026, which means that we're not getting that game until like December 2028 or something. Or something like, or like December 2027, like first half of 2028 at the earliest. I don't know, like that doesn't sound that kind of is like I'm not thrilled about that. I get it, but I'm not thrilled about having to wait that long, especially because, of course, if we're talking 2028, we're talking 10 years since the last game. That won't feel like 10 years because, of course, we had all the DLC. But so it's really 2021 to 2028, not 2018 to 2028. But yeah, I mean, again, that's a kind of a whole video I feel like I could do. But yeah, that's Air Riders has really thrown off the timetable for when Smash 6 could be happening. So of course, okay, Smash 6, even if they started pre-production right now, wouldn't be coming out until like, yeah, December 2027 or 2028 at the earliest. So okay. what are we gonna have in the meantime? Will there be anything in the meantime? Will there be something to hold us over? Or are they just gonna leave the games alone and not really do anything else? Because of course we had, you know, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are getting a Switch 2 edition, you know, Kirby's getting a Switch 2 edition, Mario Party's getting a Switch 2 edition, of course Prime 4 and ZA are getting Switch 2 editions, you know, I'm sure we're going to get even more Switch 2 editions. Like, I am convinced that we're going to get a Wonder Switch 2 edition because they have that list of, like, the games they're getting the free updates. And Mario U Deluxe is in there, but not Wonder. And I think the only reason Wonder is not in there is because Wonder is going to be getting a Switch 2 edition with new content that they'll probably announce during, like, the anniversary later this year. Because, of course, it's Mario's 40th anniversary. So they'll probably announce, like, Wonder Switch 2 edition plus Bowser's whatever thing, like DLC expansion. You know, we'll probably get that whenever they do the anniversary stuff. And of course, we'll get the 3D Mario announcement at that time as well, which will probably come out in 2026 because of course we have Donkey Kong and that's being made by the Odyssey team, even though they refuse to acknowledge it's the Odyssey team for some reason, but whatever. It's obvious it's the Odyssey team. But yeah, so basically, are we going to get a Ultimate Switch 2 edition? Now, of course, before we found out about the concept of the Switch 2 edition, everyone would have said Ultimate Deluxe, right? Ultimate Deluxe. That would have been, you know, Ultimate Deluxe or Smash 6. But now it's Switch 2 edition or Smash 6. With the key difference being that a Switch 2 edition is an upgrade, not a full re-release. And also, because it's an upgrade and not a full re-release, that means if you don't already have the DLC, then you still have to buy it. Now, if you already have it, it's fine. Like, for example, with Breath of the Wild, if you already have the expansion pass for Breath of the Wild, you don't have to buy it again. You just need to get the upgrade pack, but not the expansion pass, if you already have it. So I assume it'll be the same way with Smash if we got a Switch 2 edition, which means that if you already have all the DLC, then you're fine. But if you don't, then that means you still have to buy it if you want it on top of the upgrade. But aside from that, you know, if we got a Switch 2 edition, you know, when would it come out? When would they announce it? And also, what would be in it? So here's a kind of maybe, like, weird thing to say about a franchise that's so centered around characters. But my weird gut feeling is that if we got a Switch 2 edition, they would add basically anything except new characters, which I know sounds insane. Like, this is Smash. Like, characters is, like, the whole thing. I know. But we're talking about a game with 89 characters already. And remember, we're talking about, like, a situation where it's not a deluxe, where everything is just included, and then there's DLC after that. No, we're talking about, like, I guess what you would call, like, maybe, like, a situation where, like, there's an upgrade where, like, you can get the new characters if you buy that by itself, but not like the. I don't know. I'm confusing myself now with this whole explanation. Point is, for some weird reason, I kind of feel like there's enough characters, and I feel like Sora was like a really good way to end it. And I feel like if they added any more, it would just kind of mess with that, you know? Like, I mean, say what you will about how Sora plays or whatever, but when I say the way it ended, I mean, like, the reveal. Like, that reveal, I will still stand by this 3-4 years later. The Sora reveal was the perfect finale for Ultimate. Absolutely perfect. They could not have handled that any better. That trailer is like a top 3 Smash trailer for me. It hits all the emotional notes you would hope for like, the final trailer for a game like this. And the fact that he was like that he was like the ballot pick, like the real ballot pick, you know, just was like the cherry on top. You could not have had a better storybook ending if you tried, you know? So adding more characters after that would just kind of like ruin it. I don't know. That's just my opinion though. But even ignoring that though, I kind of feel like, you know, there's enough characters. And honestly, there are other things I'd rather they add first, personally. Like, you know, add more quality of life features that we've wanted for forever. Like, add a CSS, add a hazard toggle on the CSS so you don't have to have a separate, you know, thing for it, you know, whoops. There's a couple other things I'm forgetting right now because it's been so long. Yeah, but there's a bunch of like quality of life stuff I'd like. You know, rollback for the online, of course, that's a big one. You know, better online. has obviously been requested for forever. I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't. I mean, obviously, I'll take new characters. It's just, you know, I kind of feel like that. I just don't think that's what they should do. Why did I do that? I just threw away a life right there. I don't know, I just kind of feel like, you know, there's enough characters. I know that, like, kind of goes against the whole thing of Smash, where it's like new characters, but I don't know. But that's the only thing I'm kind of thinking maybe they wouldn't do, or maybe they shouldn't do, which I know might be a bit of a controversial take right there. But they absolutely would add new stages. You know, we'd get stages based on newer games and stuff like that. You know, maybe a new third-party stage. You know, maybe we could get break the targets finally. You know, break the targets. You know, I don't care if it's the Melee version or the Brawl version. I mean, obviously, I'd prefer everyone get their own unique stage like Melee and 64. But I would, at this point, I could live with the Brawl, you know, 5 difficulties. I could take that. Just give us break the targets. Just give us break the targets. I don't care what version of it is at this point. Just give us it back, you know. You know, add 2-player co-op to World of Light. I'm very surprised we never got that when Subspace had it. You know, and again, there's other things I'm probably forgetting here, and other things people would probably want. But the big new edition, my kind of theory for what the big new, because an Ultimate Switch 2 edition would not be, you know, a Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom upgrade, where it's like a $10 thing that's just resolution frame rate. No. Ultimate would 100% be a, you know, Smash Ultimate Switch 2 edition plus new content, like whatever type deal. And my best guess for what they would do is it would be some kind of new single-player thing. It'd be a new single-player thing. Now, what that single-player thing would be, though, that's the question. My gut feeling is it would be... I mean, and when I say single-player thing, I'm not talking about Break the Targets. Break the Targets is something where it's like you add that in addition to this. When I say single-player thing, I'm talking like, you know, single-player. We're talking, you know, a proper, like, new single-player thing. Now, I don't think they would add a brand new single-player entirely. They would save that for the next game. But maybe, like, an expansion to World of Light or something. Or since all of the game... Or, if they really want to go for... brownie points, they could, since all of the characters from Brawl are in this game, and they may never come back again. For all we know, we won't have Snake ever again. Remake Subspace. Remake Subspace. Now, they're not going to do that, because that would be a lot of work. They'd have to make a lot of new assets for that and stuff. They're not going to do that, probably, but... You know, return to Subspace or something, you know. Now, the only problem with doing a Subspace remake is the cutscenes, because the cutscenes are obviously, like, probably the most notable thing about... I mean, the actual mode is fun and all, but, like, the cutscenes are, like, the most iconic part about it, right? Are all the cutscenes. Well, they can't just port the cutscenes over, because they're not going to look right. I mean, obviously, they'll, like, re-render them or upscale them to 1080p or whatever, but, like, of course, they're, like, 480p on the Wii, but what I mean by that is you can't have, like, the Brawl art style cutscenes and then cut to Ultimate. It doesn't work. They're two different art styles, especially because some of the characters don't even have those versions of them in the game. Like, you can't have a cutscene with Link in it, because Link doesn't have his Twilight Princess design in this game. In this game, he has the Champion's Tunic, or he has the Tunic of the Wilds, basically. The regular classic Link is not actually in this game. So you can't just take that cutscene and plop it in there. So they would have to, like, redo all the cutscenes. And again, that's too much work. They're not going to do that. And even then, would that really be a good idea, right? Like obviously it would look amazing as the team over at Digital Frontier, who, by the way, 100% I am convinced did the trailer for Air Riders, because it looks just like their art style. The guys over at Digital Frontier, who are the guys that do all of the Smash CG trailers from 4 onward, they do really good work. And I have no doubt that any Subspace cutscene remake would look amazing, but would it feel the same? You know? That's kind of the issue with trying to do any of that. So I don't know. That's just kind of like a random stupid... realistically, it would probably be some, like, big World of Light expansion or something, not like a Subspace thing, but I don't know. Point is, there'll be, you know, we'll get quality of life things, we'll get some new stages, and we'll get, like, some new single-player expansion or something. And that'll be a $20 upgrade or whatever, you know. all that stuff. And we'll get, 4K, or at least 1440p. I don't think 4K is that unreasonable, honestly. I think 4K could totally be possible. Or at least a resolution close to it for a game like this that already runs at 1080p 60 fine on the regular Switch. But at least 1440p, any resolution upgrade would be nice. I mean, the game does not need it. The game looks totally fine as is, but obviously a res bump would be nice, and that would be kind of a given, because every Switch 2 version gets a res bump, so it would be at least a 1440p bump, if not higher. Most of the Switch 2 editions we've seen so far have been 1440p. Mario Party's 1440p, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom are 1440p, although, of course, that is also going from 30 to 60, so that's a bigger jump, actually. Pokemon is... we don't know what Pokemon is yet. Obviously, that game is not out yet, but Digital Foundry said it's 1080p, although I'm not sure if I believe them on that. It looks higher res than that to me, at least from the little, 5-second snippet we had. I feel like it's higher resolution than that, but either way, it looks a lot sharper than the Switch 1 version, so that will definitely be the definitive way to play that game, especially with 60 FPS, but... yeah, then Prime 4, of course, they straight up told us, 1080p, 120 performance mode, 4K 60 quality mode, all that stuff. Although, again, according to Digital Foundry, it might not be, a native 1440p. It might be, some kind of upscaling, although it looks very clean. As someone that has a 4K monitor and watched that clip in 4K, because the stream was also 4K, it looked really good. It looked really sharp. So even if it's not native 4K, it's close enough that it doesn't matter. It may as well be native. And none of the first-party games use DLSS, at least as of yet. Although we know Cyberpunk uses DLSS, and I assume that when the next Xenoblade game comes out, that'll be using DLSS as well, because Monolith Soft already uses TAA, or TAA equivalents for rendering in their games. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, will we get a Switch 2 edition, essentially? Well... I'd say it depends on if here's the way I look at it. If after Air Riders comes out, they immediately move to Smash 6, then we're not going to get a Switch 2 edition. But if there's going to be a break in between, then we might get. But for now, I'm assuming we're not going to get any kind of upgrade. No Switch 2 edition, no free update, nothing. That's my assumption for now. Obviously, we'll see. When June rolls around, we'll probably have another Direct. Maybe we'll get it in there. Maybe we'll get it in September. Who knows? But as of right now, my assumption is that once Air Riders is out the door, they're going to move right on to Smash 6. So they're not going to do a Switch 2 edition in the meantime, because they're going to be working on the next game. But we'll see. I think it's so stupid they didn't add a story to Smash 4 because of YouTube helping to make a real story mode. Oh yeah, that whole thing. Yeah, that. So, well, we're past that at this point. I think we're past, that, whole thing. Because obviously World of Light had cutscenes. It didn't have that many of them. There was, 5. But it had cutscenes, so we're past the whole uploading to YouTube thing. I know he said that. It's one of the very few things I probably disagree with Sakurai on, is the whole, yeah, that was a dumb reason. But, I get it. I get where he's coming from with that, but, I don't know. I mean, Smash Run is fun, and I actually am one of the 5 people that likes Smash Tour for what it is. If you look at Smash Tour as its own standalone mode, I think it's a fun mode. If you look at it as the replacement for Subspace, though, yeah, that's a different story. But yeah, I'm not really worried about us not having a, quote, real story mode. I'm not really worried about that. I mean, World of Light was a lot closer to a real story mode than even Smash Run was, so I'm not really worried about that too much. So one thing I'm kind of curious about is if we're going to get a Kirby Air Riders Direct. Now, Now, you might say, why would we get one? No Kirby game has ever gotten a Direct before, and that's correct. But remember, this is Kirby Air Riders from Sakurai. And they clearly love promoting the fact that he's making the game. See, now what's weird about Nintendo is they have this thing lately where they, like, refuse to acknowledge that certain people are making certain games. But then with other games, they'll, like, proudly promote it as, like, a big marketing thing. Like, with the Super Mario RPG remake and Princess Peach Showtime, they, like, refused to tell us who the developers were. They just said, look in the credits, look in the credits. But they would never tell us beforehand who was making it. But then with Kirby Air Riders, it's like, Kirby Air Riders, directed by Masahiro Sakurai. Oh, man. Apologies. Yeah, so it's like, some things they'll be very, like, resistant, and other times they'll, like, market it. It's, like, weird. Also, Koei Tecmo, right? Yeah, they very much promote that Koei Tecmo makes the Hyrule Warriors games. I mean, that one's a little more understandable because, I mean, it's literally called Hyrule Warriors. It's a Dynasty Warriors game, but still, I don't know. It's just kind of odd how, like, some games, they just, like, will refuse. Again, they refuse to tell us that Bonanza is made by the Odyssey team, even though we all know it's the Odyssey team. Anyone with eyeballs can tell it's the Odyssey team. Blatantly. That is clearly their work. And yet, every time they're asked about it, they're like, you know, we'll tell you eventually. I think that's literally what they said. I think someone asked Doug Bowser that, and they said, oh, we'll reveal more information on that later. Which is better than waiting for the credits, I suppose, but I don't know, it's just kind of weird. Whoa! Twofer right there. I almost forgot about the other abilities. But yeah, I don't know. But the fact that Sakurai is making it, and they're making that, like, a big selling point of the game. Like, if you go on the website, like, obviously they have the stinger in the trailer. But, like, even on the website and on Twitter, like, everywhere where they mention that game, they say directed by Sakurai, like, every single time they bring it up. Because they know that's, like, the big selling point, right? Because this is a niche game from, like, 20 years ago that has a fan base for sure, but hasn't been active in a really long time. It's only had one game. So how do you get people to be interested in it, especially when Mario Kart's coming? You tell them, hey, the guy behind Smash is making this, and you immediately will get people interested. It has me interested. I'm probably going to end up getting it for that reason alone, because he has yet to make a bad game. And he wouldn't return to the franchise he started if it wasn't going to be good. And we know he has a soft spot for Air Riders because of Smash Run and stuff. Like, he's mentioned it a decent amount of times, so I have no doubt that the game is going to be good. And I'm probably going to end up getting it because it's his next game, so I'm going to be interested in it. Probably no matter what, but yeah, I don't know, I think a Direct would make sense. And of course the Direct is going to be, like, in the style of the Smash Direct, where, you know, he's going to be sitting on his couch and all that stuff. 100%. If we got one. Again, maybe we won't. Maybe we'll just get, like, overview trailers and stuff, and that's fine. But I feel like if they really wanted to go all in on the fact that, you know, this is his game, you know, do a Direct for it, and do it in the same style as the Smash presentations, you know? Where he's on his couch, you know, talking about it, and they cut to gameplay, and they have all the transitions and stuff you'd expect. I don't know. I mean, again, we'll see. It's coming out this year, though, so we're going to be seeing it probably sometime soon. You know, again, if we get a June Direct, then we'll probably see it there. We'll get a proper release date. My bet right now is September. That's my current bet for Air Riders, is September. Maybe August, but I'm saying September. September just feels right. Jax, hello, welcome to the stream. I can see that you are indeed here. Yeah, thanks for joining in. Yeah, going back to yeah, like the next story mode though. Yeah, I mean I know it's like the cliche thing to say, but I mean, I do want a Subspace 2. I mean, don't literally do Subspace 2. Like, don't bring back those characters. I mean, you can do that. I'd be fine with that, obviously. Like, they could literally make Subspace 2, and everyone would be super hyped for that. But they don't have to do that. They could just, you know, make a new story mode that's akin to it, you know, with platforming and with tons of cutscenes, you know, with and character interact. Because that's what people like. You know, people really like the character interactions, right? Just give us a ton of cutscenes of character interactions and, you know, a lot of platforming stages. You know, again, just make Subspace 2 essentially, and everyone will be happy. I don't know if that's what he would want to do. My impression is that that's not something he's really interested in doing, at least not that exact thing. But I mean, I definitely want a mode that's more akin to it, you know. I do not play as Rob. This is a bit foreign for me. You know, something I was actually thinking about doing for this stream. I obviously didn't go. I obviously decided not to do it. I was tempted to set the game to Japanese because I haven't done that in a really long time. You know, just to hear the Japanese voices and stuff, and hear, you know, the announcer and hear Xander Mobus say, you know, the winner is Koopa, the winner is Purin, the winner is all that stuff. You know, that would have been kind of neat. I could do it still, but then I'd have to back all the way out to the... We're not going to do that. We're not going to bother with that, but... Yeah. Let's see. Antonio says, World of Light sort of a Subspace 2. Well, it was a Subspace 2 in the sense that it was the sequel to Subspace, like the proper sequel, like, you know, not Smash Tour, you know, like an actual new story mode, adventure mode, you know? So it technically was a sequel in, like, the most literal sense of the word, but it wasn't. But the thing that makes Subspace Subspace is that Subspace is a game with platforming. You know, Subspace's whole thing is, you know, there's a bunch of different locations you go to, and it's a platforming, you know, it's a platformer, essentially. But World of Light is not a platformer. World of Light is essentially a souped-up version of events. That's kind of how I look at it. That's pretty much what World of Light is. World of Light is basically events mode on steroids. It's not really a Subspace equivalent, even if it is the equivalent of it for the game, if that makes any sense. I do like World of Light. I mean, obviously I get why it's a divisive mode, and I have my issues with it too, but I think it's a neat mode, and it's certainly a lot better than nothing. In fact, one of these days I've been meaning to play through it. I mean, okay, to be clear, I played through it a long time ago, but I mean, I've actually been tempted to, like, stream it. Like, do like a fresh playthrough on, like, a fresh account too, because obviously you can have the multiple save files, but then you'll still have all your spirits and stuff. So what I was thinking is that we would do, you know, a completely fresh, you know, boot up one of my alt accounts that has no save data on it, do a completely raw playthrough at some point. Maybe we'll do that, like, closer to the release of the next game and, like, a lead up type thing. But I don't know, but that's not gonna happen for a while. I'm not rushing to do any more playthroughs of anything anytime soon. Another news, Skype is shutting down. Yeah, I think it shut down today, actually. I mean, that was announced, I think, a month ago. And it was kind of a long time coming. You know, obviously Skype has been on the decline for a long time. Had a bit of a boost thanks to the pandemic, but once that wore off, it just kind of continued downward. Obviously, Discord is now, you know, the standard. It's been the standard for a really long time, you know. So it was only a matter of time until Skype kind of got shuttered. So it's been unfortunate because, you know, obviously Skype, you know, it's been around a long time, you know, and I do have a lot of good memories using Skype back in the days before I used Discord, but, you know, it was kind of inevitable. So, yeah. Although I will say, and if I'm being a little selfish, there is a part of me that kind of likes that's getting killed off for one simple reason. I do have a grudge against Skype. Not a major one, but I do have a bit of a grudge against Skype because way back in the day, in like 2012, 2013, Microsoft killed off Windows Live Messenger because they bought Skype. And I really liked Windows Live Messenger, if anyone remembers Windows Live Messenger. And I'm not talking about MSN Messenger from like the early 2000s. I'm talking about specifically Windows Live Messenger from, like, you know, 2009 to 2012, like that specific era of the program. I used to really like using that program, and then I was really annoyed when they, like, shut it down because of Skype. So I've always kind of had a little bit of a grudge against Skype just for killing off Windows Live Messenger. So I guess I got the last laugh in that sense, but it took like a decade for that to happen. I mean, it's just a minor thing. I got nothing against Skype really overall. It's just that minor thing from 12 years ago or whatever when they shut down Windows Live Messenger. And I'm sure there's a project out there that resurrects it or whatever, because there's a lot of resurrection projects for old programs that have long since been killed off. So I'm sure if I really wanted to use it again, I could, but yeah. What are your thoughts on Paul Rudd returning for the returning for the new commercials? I mean, I wasn't expecting it. I didn't even know he was in a Switch. Not a Switch. I didn't even know he was in a commercial originally, because they re-uploaded the original commercial, and Nintendo never does that. They never upload like old stuff like that ever. Even though it'd be kind of cool if they did. There's a lot of old stuff they could re-upload from like the 90s and 2000s. That'd be cool, but yeah. So they re-uploaded that old like SNES era commercial with him in it. And then, of course, they did the new one. I don't know. I guess it was kind of neat. I don't really have much to say about it other than it was neat, I suppose. That's really all I got to say about it, honestly. So, actually, this is something I can talk about real quick. So, yeah, Valentine Buster, yeah, he mentioned to me that he got a new Pro Controller recently. Well, funny enough, I also got a new Pro Controller recently, but unfortunately, it did not pan out the way I expected. So here's what happened. So about a week ago, I bought a Splatoon 3 Pro Controller off eBay for $40. You can probably already see where this is going by me saying Splatoon 3 Pro Controller for $40, but we'll get there. We'll get there. And the reason I bought it, even though the Switch 2 is coming, I've got it because, one, I don't have the Splatoon 3 controller, but I have the Splatoon 2 controller, so I wanted to have both of them. And two, I mean, all the old controllers are going to work anyway, so it's not like it's that big of a deal. And for $40, new, on paper, why not? So I ordered it. It showed up a few days ago. Actually, no, it showed up on the 1st. May 1st is when it showed up. And I had already had suspicions about this particular listing. And also a bunch of other listings I had seen for other Pro controllers that were around $40. And there was a part of me that was like, this looks legit, but there's this feeling inside me that it somehow isn't. So the controller gets here, and from the outside, from a very casual perspective, it looks legit. It's the official box, pretty much, at least in terms of how it looks. It's got it's got all the inside packaging. It's got the USB-C cable that looks pretty legit, and the controller looks and feels pretty legit. But there's a couple of things. So first, the front of the box is strangely low, kind of low res in a way that no regular box would be, and I know this because I have 3 Pro Controller boxes already, and none of them are that low resolution on the front. Like, the Switch logo in the corner is high res, but like the rest of the front is like low res, and it kind of has this like chromatic aberration in parts, like with like the Splatoon 3 logo, so that was already throwing me off. The back was pretty much fine, but that front was, that low res box art was definitely kind of throwing me. Then the cable. Now the cable looks pretty legit, but there's like this very slight molding thing. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and just do that right now because I want to finish the story. Oh dang, I didn't join fast enough, so now I can't watch the battle. What was I gonna say? Yeah, so the cable looked pretty legit, but there were 2 things that threw me off. One, the molding on the made in China looked just ever so slightly off. I could notice it. And I had, of course, 2 official cables that I could look at to compare against, and it just didn't look quite right. It was close enough, and to be frank, it's a cable. It's a USB-C cable. Does it really matter that much if it's fake or not? No. But okay. The cable, I think, I mean, it's possible that cable is legit, but I don't know, that part kind of threw me off as well. Also, the housing for the connector was different, at least at first, and that also kind of made me suspicious of it. But now we get to the part that 100% confirms without a shadow of a doubt that that controller is fake. If you connect it, it'll work. Like, let me make it clear. The controller works. It works. And it will have the colors. It'll have, you know, the colors that it's supposed to have in the OS. But if you try to update the controller, it will stay at 0% and never go up. And you can leave it sitting there for 20 minutes and it will not budge. It won't fail either. It'll just not move. That was all I had to see to know that that was 100% fake. Now, there are other aspects of the controller that you can tell. Like, for example, the buttons, when you click on the buttons, they have a louder sound than they do on the real controller. And the B button was like in like kind of a weird thick font that the other ones weren't. So like there were a couple other indications that it was fake, but the fact that the controller wouldn't update at all was the biggest red flag. And I know that's because it's fake, because I've looked it up. And there are other people that also bought controllers off eBay who had the same issue because they're fake. So the controller's fake. The controller is fake. And I had a feeling that was going to happen going in, but I figured, you know what? We'll try it anyway, and hey, if it's fake, I'll just get a refund. No big deal. So, the person I bought it from, surprise, surprise, officially at least, doesn't offer refunds. But that wasn't going to stop me from filing a refund. So, I filed a refund complaint. I listed out all the reasons I already mentioned, the buttons, the USB-C cable, the low-res artwork, the fact that it doesn't update, with a screenshot. I showed them a screenshot of it stuck at 0%. I did the whole thing, and I said, you know, hey, this controller's fake. I can tell it's fake. Here's all the reasons why it's fake. And, I don't want this anymore. Now, once you file a return request, which you can do even if the person doesn't officially offer returns properly, you have to wait, like, I think 5 days. And if the seller does not respond to your request within the 5 days, then you can escalate it to eBay and get them to step in. So what I was expecting was going to happen was that the seller, who was obviously selling a fake controller, would obviously just ignore me, because why wouldn't they? Or so I thought. We'll get to that in a second. And that once, you know, the deadline, I believe May 6th was the deadline they gave me. Like, hey, if the seller doesn't respond by May 6th, you know, call eBay and we'll work, you know, we'll step in and whatnot. And eBay is a pretty good track record, at least for me, and, you know, they'll pretty much back you up no matter what happens, so I wasn't worried about getting my money back, because, like, I'm gonna get my money back either way. You know, they'll force the return, because it'll be blatantly obvious that it's fake, because of all the reasons I just said. So, not long before I started this stream, maybe like 30 minutes before I started the stream, I got a notification that the seller had offered a partial refund. A partial refund. So, you want to know what the partial refund is? So here is what my guess was before I clicked on it. My guess is, partial refund is they'll give me the $40, but I'll have to pay for shipping for the return or something. Something like that. That was my interpretation of what that would mean. You want to know what it actually is? In fact, let me go ahead and check just to be 100% sure. I'll tell you what the price is that they offered for a partial refund. $30. But I can keep the controller. Their words, not mine. They said $30, and in the message it says you can keep the. It doesn't say controller, but obviously they mean controller. So they're offering me $30, and I can keep the controller. Now, of course, I don't want the controller because it's fake. Yes, it works, but I don't want a fake controller that can't be updated. So, I don't know. I mean, to some people, that might be worth it, because to some people, hey, it's still... the controller works, it looks and feels fairly legit, and you're essentially getting a free controller, because it's like, what, $10 in the end? So in some respects, that's kind of a deal. Not for me. because I don't want this controller. I don't want this controller. I don't want it. I just want a complete refund, and I want this thing gone. So, I have not responded to that offer yet. But here's what I'm thinking I'm going to do. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to call eBay and ask them about it and see what they say. Because, look, if the only way this is going to end is I accept it or I get nothing, then of course I'm going to accept it and just take the hit. I mean, hey, I'll at least get most of my money back, I suppose. But now I'm stuck with a controller I don't want. So, I don't know, maybe I'll give it to, like, Ethan or something if he wants it. Be like, hey, I got this fake controller I don't really want. I don't know, you give me, like, $10 for it so I can make up that last $10 or something. You know, you can have it or something. Maybe I'll just give it to him. I don't know. That's just a theory. But realistically, my hope is that I'll be able to escalate it with eBay and I'll just be able to get a full refund and send it back, and then that'll be the end of it. And then I'll just wait, and like I said earlier, I'll just get a Switch 2 Pro controller whenever, like, a special edition one comes out or something, so I can have 4 Pro controllers, which will be nice, since, of course, most games support up to 4 players. So I'll be able to have 4 Pro controllers, that'll be nice. In addition to, of course, the Joy-Cons and everything, but the Pro controllers are obviously much better, so... So yeah, that's my whole little fake Pro controller story. So if you go on eBay and see any, like, special edition Pro controller, whether it's Splatoon 3 or Tears of the Kingdom or the Xenoblade 2 one, if you see any of those and they're like $40, they're probably fake. I'm not saying they're all fake, but at least most of the listings I saw looked, I'm pretty sure, are fake. I mean, obviously there are people on eBay selling real Pro controllers, but I would stay away from any of, like, the special edition listings. You know, if it's like a regular Pro controller, it's probably fine, but if it's a special edition one, that's like $40. I mean, if it's worth like $80, then it's probably the real one, but if it's $40, then yeah. I mean, I know the old adage, right, you know? If it seems too good to be true, it probably is, and I can definitely say that that was the case for this, because, I mean, hey, $40 for a Pro controller, a special edition Pro controller, you know, that would have been a pretty good deal if it was real. But it wasn't, so yeah, that's kind of that whole story. I just kind of felt like, you know, mentioning that. Hopefully, eBay, I don't see why eBay wouldn't be able to kind of force that. I think, again, my track record with them has been pretty good. They've always been, you know, good whenever I've had issues, you know, for me, but we'll see. We will see. Actually, speaking of eBay, this is something that's not new. This is something from a few months ago, but I don't think I've talked about it in a stream really before, so I may as well talk about it now. So, I have a bunch of old Pokemon games, like I have, like, you know, Red, Blue, Gold, Crystal, Fire Red, Emerald. Actually, I have 2 copies of Emerald that I really have no attachment to, and therefore no real desire to keep. Like all of the DS games I would never sell, especially Heart Gold. Heart Gold is my absolute favorite game that has way too much sentimental value for me to ever part with, no matter what the price tag. I will always hold on to those DS Pokemon games no matter what they're worth, but the Game Boy and GBA games, those are all open season as far as I'm concerned, and you can actually get a good amount of money for a lot of those games, but here's the big one. My copy of Gold is a not-for-resale copy of Gold. And you know how much those go for on eBay? Some pretty nice figures, if you ask me. Like, we're talking, you know, $400, $500, $600 is what you can sell that for, at least on paper. The most recent listing that I saw that actually sold was $450. And of course, with eBay fees and whatnot, you know, it's probably going to be closer to like $380 or whatever. But still, you know, no matter what you end up selling that for, you know, you're still getting ridiculous money for a Game Boy game. A Game Boy game that I have no attachment to. I have attachment to the DS games, but the Game Boy games, you know, those I don't really care about that much. You know, so my plan was I was gonna, you know, put up all that stuff on eBay. You know, obviously that Gold is an exception. Most of the games are not worth that much. They're still worth a good amount, but they're not worth that much. So for example, Blue is worth about 50. My copy of red is borked, so I'm gonna just be giving that one away probably, or just something like that. Crystal, I have a pretty good copy of Crystal. It's in really good shape. It's worth about 150-ish. And then the emeralds, the label is not great, but the game works just fine. Those ones also go for pretty good numbers, like around like 150, 200-ish, is what I've seen at least. And Fire Red's worth about 100, 120. So, point is, all of those games combined, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money that's just sitting on my shelf not doing anything, right? So, my plan was I was going to put all that stuff up on eBay. But then Ethan was actually interested in a lot of those games. So, we kind of made a deal where it's like, he's going to end up buying most of those eventually. He's already bought a couple of them off me. Like I had a copy of Ruby that I gave him for $50 because it had a crack on it. So he got that one, and eventually he's gonna be buying a bunch of the other ones as well. So that's kind of neat. But gold though, yeah, that one's gonna be on eBay for sure because obviously, I mean, I would never ask him to do this. To be clear, I would never ask him to give me $500 for a Game Boy game. Let's make that crystal clear. But yeah, the second I saw how much that was worth, it's like, okay, yeah, that one's going on eBay. That's going on eBay. Yeah. Obviously, once I told him about that, it was like, yeah. Yeah, but he's gonna apparently buy all the other ones off me, though, for the most part, so that'll be neat. Of course, I was like, hey, no rush, no rush, do it whenever, But, yeah, so I have a bunch of Game Boy games, laying around that's worth a lot of money, and, yeah, so that's gonna be pretty neat, but, so yeah, I have gold, the not for resale one, up on eBay right now. I have it listed for 500, so that would be about 420 probably in the end. I'd be pretty happy with that. It's like that's almost a console right there. I mean, I wouldn't blow it on something like that, obviously, but you get my point. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy about that, I'd say. Hasn't sold yet, of course, and of course, even if it does sell, we gotta wait and make sure it all works out and there's no issues or anything. But, yeah, so that's just another thing I guess I felt like bringing up. That's not new, it's something that happened a few months ago, but yeah, keep it for 12 years. I don't know. I mean, I've had those games for a while. I've had those games for a while. In fact, so here's the thing, actually. Here's a little more history. So all of my DS Pokemon games, Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, Heart, Gold, Soul, Silver, White, White 2, all of those are like games that are either me or my brothers, and we are the original owners, but the Game Boy and GBA games are not. Those games actually came from my cousins. They were actually their games, and we got them a long time ago from them. So they're actually all of their games. I also have their old Pokemon Game Boy Color and stuff, which I have no intention of getting rid of. Not that it's probably worth much or anything. Plus, the screen's pretty scratched up and apart, so it wouldn't be worth anything anyway, probably. But yeah, so we actually got all those games from them. And I believe we used to have Sapphire and Silver, but but I don't know where they are, or maybe we lost them, or maybe we ended up giving them back at some point. I don't know, but. But yeah, so the Pokemon games I have, they're basically just a big war chest that's just sitting on my shelf waiting to kind of be sold, so one way or another, I mean, if Ethan, decides he doesn't really want to buy any of those games anymore, that's totally fine. I'll just put them up on eBay. But, he kind of wanted first dibs on it, so I've not put them up on eBay for the time being, but if he changes his mind on any of them, then obviously we'll put them up on eBay. But I do have the gold on eBay, though, since that's obviously the big one. So, yeah. That's that story, I guess. Let's see, I think it's just a piece of that Marvel advertising about Thunderbolts you were talking about earlier. Yeah, I think it was yesterday they started doing it. And the movie's only been out for like 2 days. And they put out, and they're like, we're not even gonna tell. We're just gonna tell people. We're not even gonna hide it anymore. And it's like, I mean, it's not that important. I mean, this isn't Endgame or anything, but like, that's like really weird. Like, why would you just tell people like, basically right when the movie comes out, like the drop at the end? Because for those of you that have not seen the movie, they do that drop at the end of the movie. Because you know how at the end of every Marvel movie, they have, like, the part where they do the credits? Like, you know, before we get the big credit scroll, we get, like, the fancy credits with, like, the director and the actors and stuff before we get to, like, everyone else. And then they show, like, the title at the end. But when they show the title at the end, they show the regular title, and then they show the new title right afterwards in, like, this big grand reveal type thing. And it's like, okay. I mean, it's not surprising because people have been speculating about that for a while, but now they're just advertising it on Twitter and stuff. So it's like, I guess the secret's out. That's on them. Not that it's a big deal or anything, but yeah. I will say that the post-credit scene, I won't say what the post-credit scene is for those that haven't seen it, but the post-credit scene was probably the first time in a long time where I actually heard the audience get excited about a post-credit scene. So take that for what it's worth. Like, normally whenever we go to these, like, the last, like, probably maybe a couple of years of movies, people never really freaked out at the post-credit scenes, but this is one where people did. Like, all the people in, like, the front, in particular, were kind of freaking out about it, which, you know, now, I'm sure that's partly because we saw it, like, on day one. Normally we see the movies, like, a couple of days later, unless it's, like, something really big. Like, obviously, when Endgame came out, we didn't see that the day of, we saw it the day after, so we had to avoid spoilers for a whole day. And I was not spoiled on Endgame, thankfully, so that was nice. Yeah, so. Oh man, look at this connection. I'm gonna see it in about a month. It's a bit of a long time, don't you think? But I mean, hey, you do you. Not like it's a very important movie or anything, although I do think it is genuinely a decent movie. Like, I think it's probably the best one I've seen in a while from them. Again, I didn't see the new Captain America, which, you know, had middling reviews and all that stuff. I'll watch it on Disney Plus eventually, but Thunderbolts was actually decent. It wasn't anything crazy, but, you know, like, and I know this is gonna sound, like, really stupid, but, like, I cared about what was happening, and I cared about the characters. That might not sound like much, but that means something in the current MCU, so. That and also, like, it was something different, like, the way it kind of went was different, like, it didn't end the way you would expect one of these movies to end, so I don't know, it was genuinely a decent movie. It was nothing crazy or anything, it's not top 10 or anything like that, but, you know, it's decent, you know, it's decent. In a good way, and, you know, not just like yeah, it's decent, it's like a decent. Like a good decent, a positive decent, if that makes any sense, but anyway. Did Captain America bomb or did it break even? Well, since I'm not playing right now, let me go ahead and check. I know it didn't do well. I know that. It wasn't the Marvels level bad or anything, but I know it did not do well. Or it didn't do, like, that well. By Marvel movie standards. You know, it didn't do that well. Okay, yeah, so Brave New World made $415 million on a $180 million budget. So, it made a profit, but not by much. It did not, and of course that $180 million is not including, you know, marketing and all that stuff. That's just the movie budget. So, they probably made money, but not much. Not enough to be considered, like, a success, probably. You know, 400 million is pretty low for a Marvel movie. Marvel movies normally are like, you know, 600, 700, 800 minimums, you know. And then, of course, you know, there's the ones that do $1 billion, like your Spider-Mans and Avengers and stuff. But normally it's 600 to 800 is kind of like that. That is kind of like what most of the movies tend to get. This one got 400, and then the Marvels got like 200 or whatever. You know, that one was the first movie to straight up bomb. Or well, maybe not bomb. Well, maybe not bomb. No. You want to know what a bomb is? Borderlands was a bomb because that movie did so badly that they took it out of theaters. That's a bomb. The Marvels was not a bomb. It just really underperformed. Which I guess you could say is bombing, but it didn't bomb as hard as Borderlands. How about that? But it still is the worst box office of the MCU so far, though. That's for certain, no matter how you want to classify it. It was a failure, essentially, from a box office perspective, one way or another. Even though, honestly, compared to the first one, which obviously was by no means a beloved movie, compared to the first one, I thought it was okay. I know that's not saying much. And I haven't watched it since it came out, but I'm just saying. Let's see, Jax, I'm going to go now. Well, thanks for stopping by, Jax. It was very much appreciated. Thanks for stopping by, and hopefully I'll see you again in the future. I'm watching it in June because I'm visiting a family member during summer, and we've always watched the worthwhile ones together. Okay, then. I believe there's not going to be another movie until... I believe the next movie is Fantastic Four. That's going to be the next one. That's coming out in... Is it November or December? I forget exactly when, but there's only 2 movies this year, I think. If I remember correctly. Sorry, no, 3, because Captain America. Sorry, 3. Okay, so never mind. Okay. I completely forgot about... I know we were just kind of talking about the box office, but I completely forgot about Captain America because I didn't see it, so I kind of forgot it even came out this year. So never mind, it's 3. So I guess that's normal then. But last year we only had 1, right? Last year we had Deadpool, and Deadpool, of course, was popular. That one did really well, $1 billion, all that stuff. Highest grossing, R-rated movie, all that stuff. And it was generally liked a lot, I would say, but... But I kind of think of Deadpool as its own thing. I mean, Deadpool obviously is in the MCU now, but it's kind of its own bubble, so I kind of don't really think of that. So, like, when I said that, like, Thunderbolts is probably the best one I've seen in a while, that's not counting Deadpool, because Deadpool is kind of its own thing to me. Yeah, I don't know. It was better than... What was it better than? It was better than... The Marvels, which again I know is not saying much, but it was better than the Marvels. It was better than Ant-Man, Quantumania. Was it better than Guardians 3? I'm not sure about that. I haven't seen Guardians 3 since it came out, so I'm not entirely sure on that one. But I don't know. The point is, the Thunderbolts is decent. That's really all you need to say. I'll just leave it at that. It's decent. I think it is actually kind of worth seeing. I mean, you don't need to see it. It's not, like, that big of a deal. But, like, I think it's decent. It's better than some of the ones we have been getting. And it has, and, I actually care about, like, the characters, to an extent. Again, I know, what a riveting review. I actually care about the characters. But, again, that's been kind of one of the big issues with the MCU lately is, like, a lot of these newer characters people just haven't really cared about. But, I actually care about, like, the Thunderbolts. Like, I actually want to see them again in something, And obviously we will, but, like... And obviously we're gonna get them in, like, Doomsday and Secret Wars or whatever. But, like, you get my... But, I know I shouldn't lower my expectations before the movie comes out because it's Fantastic Four, but the final trailer didn't look amazing to me. I actually haven't watched a lot of the recent MCU trailers. Like, I just haven't, like, actively watched them for the most part. So actually, my first time seeing the Fantastic Four trailer, I don't know if it's the first one or the second one. Whatever the most recent one is what I assume it is. Actually, I saw my first time seeing that was in the theater, like in the previews before Thunderbolts. I mean, I don't really have much to really say about it. I mean, it looks like Fantastic Four. I don't know. I mean, I don't see any big red flags, I guess is maybe what I should say. I know there are some aspects of it that probably are not going to be, you know, people are probably not going to be thrilled about. Like, you know, they got, you know, the female Silver Surfer. I'm sure that's obviously controversial, but I don't know. Aside from that, though, I don't know. I don't really see any real issue with the trailer, or at least the one I saw. I mean, it wasn't anything amazing or anything, but, you know. I don't know. I mean, I'm not that worried about it, but I will say that Fantastic Four, I think a lot of people are kind of like Fantastic Four and X-Men are kind of like, you know, if they don't get this, if they don't hit the ground with this, then that does not bode well for the future, you know? I don't know, we'll see. One thing I do really like about Fantastic Four, though, is I like how they've embraced the whole, you know, 60s of it all. And I really like how they have the Cinerama logo for the Marvel Studios logo. Instead of having the regular Marvel Studios logo, they have, like, one based on Cinerama. If you don't know what Cinerama is, it was an old movie format where they shot on 3 cameras, and 3 cameras simultaneously to create this, like, ultra-wide image back in the day. It's this really cool technology they had back then, and they would, like, project the screens with 3 projectors at the same time, and it was this cool effect, you know? It wasn't used on many movies because it was expensive, you know, but yeah, that's what the logo is a reference to. You know, it's a reference to that logo. Yeah, and Galactus is not a cloud this time. That's another benefit of the new movie. He's not a cloud this time like he was in Silver Surfer, so I don't know. I mean, I don't have really any expectations for it. I just hope it's decent. I hope I care about the characters. As long as it accomplishes that, that's pretty much fine by me. But, yeah, we'll see, obviously. They're going to be around, obviously, for a while, because they're the Fantastic Four. They're going to be around. They're going to be, like, you know, a permanent fixture, obviously, going forward. So, hopefully that works out. But, we'll have to see when that happens. And then, of course, after that, will have Doomsday and Secret Wars, and that's a whole other conversation, of course. We got, of course, the big, you know, I think it was about a month ago, we got that teaser of Doomsday where they had all the chairs with the people's names on it, and then, of course, we had RDJ at the end, of course. And they, you know, Fantastic Four is in there. Channing Tatum is in there from Deadpool and Wolverine, so that's kind of neat. Ryan Reynolds is not in there, which is a little surprising. I thought that would have been kind of a lock-in, but maybe he'll be in Secret Wars. I know he's mentioned that he's probably not going to do a Deadpool 4. I think I've seen that being floated around, but, like, there's no way he doesn't show up in Secret Wars. There's no way, you know, so. Maybe just not Doomsday, though. But yeah, for me, the MCU, though, it's been on the back burner for a while, you know? There just hasn't been enough stuff that really interests me, and I've really liked a ton, you know? I'd say the movies have been better than the shows, at least the last couple of shows. At least the ones I've seen. Now, there are a couple of shows I have not seen. I didn't see Echo, although to be fair, no one saw Echo. I didn't see Echo. I didn't see Agatha. I almost forgot that show even came out. And I haven't watched Daredevil. Now, I will watch Daredevil because it's Daredevil. Although I have not watched the Netflix series. So I probably need to watch that first, because that's kind of a big deal. And also, everyone loves the Netflix show, which is on Disney Plus now, of course, along with the new show. But yeah, the last couple of shows I watched, the last 2 shows I watched were She-Hulk and Secret Invasion, I think, were the last 2 I watched. Now, She-Hulk is She-Hulk is She-Hulk. Now, I don't think that show is the scum of the earth, but it is by far the worst MCU anything I've watched so far. That was what I felt in 2022, and it's what I still feel even now. So it's kind of the low point of the MCU for me personally. That was the only show where I had to actively, like, kind of skip through scenes. I've never really done that before. I don't, like, hate the show, but it is definitely the worst one, for sure. I do like the thing at the end where they have the fourth wall break, though. I do like that. That's really the highlight of the show, though. Otherwise, you know, you really don't need to watch it. You really don't need to watch it. That's a very easy skip. I mean, I know it's She-Hulk. Everyone's made fun of it, all that stuff. I'm just... And then Secret Invasion. Now, I actually waited like a year to watch Secret Invasion. I waited a few months to watch She-Hulk just so I could watch it, you know, as like biased as I possibly could once all the commotion died down around it. But I waited a year to watch Secret Invasion. And then when I finally watched it, I think I can see why people don't like it. People do not like Secret Invasion, like, at all. It's pretty despised. And I like it more than She-Hulk. In the sense that it's better than She-Hulk, but it's better in, like, the better sense, if that makes any sense. Like, it's a point or two higher, but not by much. There's stuff in that show that people really don't like, especially at the end with Rhodey, that whole thing people really don't like. Also, Don Cheadle doesn't like it either, I think. I think he's mentioned in, like, interviews that, like, hey, if we could, like, make, you know, Secret Invasion not canon or whatever, that'd be nice. Or, like, we could just pretend that that whole thing with him didn't happen. I don't know. I don't know if he actually said that or if I'm just thinking of someone else that said that was involved, but maybe it was a writer, I don't know, but... Because, of course, Armor Wars was announced, like, 5 years ago, and it's still not out, and, you know, how does Secret Invasion factor into that? Because the Rhodey twist, you know, that whole thing, but... I don't know, the point is, you know, not liking She-Hulk or Secret Invasion, really, you know, that kind of made me, like, not interested in watching any more shows for a while. The movies, yes. The movies, I still watched the movies every time they came out. But the shows, I was just not really interested in at that point. So again, haven't watched... I also haven't seen Loki Season 2. So I haven't seen Loki Season 2, I haven't seen Agatha, I haven't seen Daredevil Born Again, and I haven't seen the one other one that I'm forgetting. So I haven't seen, like, any of the recent shows, basically, from the last, like, year and a half, 2 years. I'll catch up on it eventually, I'm sure, but... yeah. I'm not going to bother with that new Spider-Man show, like the one that's like animated. That one I'm just going to completely skip because that one's not canon and doesn't matter. And also I'm not really thrilled about the art style, so that's just going to be a skip because it's not canon or anything. Oh, we're getting the connection error. Our first connection error. Yeah, I'm not sure who left. I wasn't really paying attention, honestly. Smashville again. The connection's not great. It was the Falco. Okay. So one thing, so another reason why I kind of put off doing a Smash stream for a while was because I was really debating whether or not the next stream I did was going to be the last one I did on the Switch 1. would, the next Smash stream I do be the last Smash stream on the Switch 1 or not? And I actually don't think it will be, if for no other reason, because I'm already, because there are a couple of streams I want to do before the Switch 2 comes out. Like I want to do like a Mario Kart stream, like a farewell to Mario Kart 8, after 11 years, do one final like kind of farewell stream for that. Probably the day before on the 4th. I want to do at least that, but I might do a Smash stream before that as well. I don't know. I'm thinking I'm gonna end up doing at least one more Smash stream beforehand. Not that it really matters that much, because there's not a Switch 2 edition at launch or anything, but I don't know. I'm definitely going to do that Mario Kart stream at the very least. I already have a thumbnail made and everything. So we'll do that on the 4th. The day before. Oh, okay, I wasn't paying attention. I had no idea where it was that time. Will you do any more walkthroughs of games like maybe DK Bonanza? I mean, I have thought, every once in a while I've thought of, hey, maybe I should stream this game or that game, but I just haven't really felt like it, Because I've done playthrough streams before, and sometimes they go well, sometimes they don't. Like, I enjoyed doing all the Splatoon campaign streams back when Splatoon 3 was coming out. And I did my, Road to Splatoon 3 streams where I, replayed all of the campaigns. That was fun, that was cool. We did Splatoon 1, Splatoon 2, Octo Expansion. That was fun. That was neat. But, I don't know. I haven't really thought of a good reason to, really do any more, playthrough type streams, really. I mean, I'm not saying I won't do them again at some point. It just has to be something that I feel like justifies me doing it, and also won't be, 10 streams. It also won't be something where I'm going to run out of stuff to talk about too quickly. Oh, man, look at this connection. Because the Splatoon streams worked because it was 2 streams per game. It was parts 1 and 2, and then parts 1 and 2, and then parts 1 and 2. It was, and it went, that you could get through them fairly quickly. I wouldn't want to stream a game where it's going to take me 8 or 9 or 10 streams to do, which is kind of what it was for the Mario games, ironically. Because when 3D All-Stars came out, I did streams for all of those games, and it was, and you can find all of those archives up on the secondary channel in case anyone wants to look at them for some reason. But Mario 64 was 2 streams. Sunshine, I believe, was about 4 streams, maybe 5, and then I think Galaxy was 8. 8 or 9. I'm not entirely sure on that number. And then I did a bonus extra where I played through Neo Mario Galaxy, which is a mod. I played that, on the Wii U, homebrew obviously. But yeah, I just haven't really felt like doing a playthrough type thing. Only real ones remember the Harry Potter game playthrough. I really liked doing that, actually. I'm glad that you remembered that. I wish I archived that. I should have archived that when I did it, and I forgot to because, of course, Twitch, everything on Twitch expires eventually. I didn't download it. I didn't archive it. I wish I did. But I actually really liked doing that stream. How many episodes was that? Was that 2 or 3 streams? I forget how many streams it was, but I liked doing that. Because I really liked that game. I'm biased because I grew up with it, but I've always really liked that game as a kid, and I still liked it. Even when I was playing through that. I believe that was in 2021. Yeah, that was around E3 2021. It was right before E3 of 2021. Rip E3. I still like that game. I still like that game. In fact, ironically, that is one of the things I thought of. Because I've never played any of the other Harry Potter games that also have the same gameplay. Because there is a game for Sorcerer's Stone and Prisoner of Azkaban that has the same engine, the same gameplay and stuff. And there's a part of me that's tempted to play that, maybe stream that, but it wouldn't have the nostalgia value of Chamber of Secrets, so I'm not sure if I'd bother with that. Because I do genuinely really like that the Chamber of Secrets PC game, which is why I streamed it. Because I haven't played it in a long time. And I still liked it. I liked doing that stream. I wish I had it archived. I should have archived that stream when I did, but What are you gonna do? But yeah, that was 4 years ago. Almost 4 years ago. We're not quite at June yet, obviously, but we're almost 4 years. Yeah. Um, yeah, that was probably the most random game I've replayed on stream. So yeah, I did, yeah, Mario 3D All-Stars, way back in the day, like before I did the streams stuff. I had like, I replayed Subspace in like 2018 as like just like a Let's Play video series, like just a regular classic Let's Play. We started Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, but then we like stopped halfway through it and never got finished. And then yeah, 3D All-Stars we did streams for. We did the Splatoon campaigns. We streamed that. We played the Chamber of Secrets in 2021. And I think that's pretty much it. I can't remember anything else off the top of my head that I've done, like Let's Plays or walkthroughs, or well, it wouldn't be a walkthrough necessarily, but you know, played through a game like that. I think those are the only ones I've done, like in general, across both videos and streams. If I remember correct, so you want to know what's funny? So I actually have thought of maybe replaying a couple of like other older PC games I haven't played in a long time that I used to like. Like Lego Racers 2 or Lego Island Brickster's Revenge are some Lego games from back in the day I used to like quite a bit that I haven't played in a really long time. I actually thought about doing like, you know, a stream for that, similar to what I did for Harry Potter, you know, kind of, replaying, you know, an old childhood classic, all that stuff I haven't played in a long time. I thought about doing that, and I might still at some point, but I'm not entirely certain on whether or not I want to do that or not. Now, one thing I do know, so for the Harry Potter stream, when I did that, I didn't play that on my main computer. I played that on my old Pentium V computer, the computer that I played that game on originally, that I still have. I played it on that. And I just, you know, wired it into the capture card, and hooked up to the monitor, and we did it that way. So we were playing it at like the original, you know, 640 by 480 or 800 by 600 resolution I played it at back in the day or whatever. You know, whatever the resolution was. You know, I played it with that for the stream. I didn't play it on the main computer. Now, you can boot that game on the main computer, kinda, but you have to do some workarounds, and like, it doesn't fully work out of the box. But the Lego games, I've already tested this. The Lego games all work still for the most part, except for Lego Racers 2. For that game, you have to get like a special EXE to like work around like the disc check or something. But like once you do that, then it works. And you want to know what's really funny? So these Lego games that I grew up with are from like the early 2000s. And the system requirements for them are like Windows 98 or whatever. It's like the minimum version. You want to know what's really funny? Like, I think this was last year. I like booted up not Lego. Did I say? Am I getting Lego Island and Lego Racers mixed up? Whatever. Lego Island Brickster's Revenge, aka Lego Island 2. I never played the first one, which is the one that most people seemingly played. I played the second one, but if you boot that game up on a modern computer, it will tell you the graphics card. Like, it was really weird looking at, like, the video settings and seeing it say, you know, AMD Radeon RX 6900 XT in, like, a 20-year-old, like, Lego game. That was, like, really funny. That it, like, straight up tells you what your modern graphics card is. I thought that was really funny. The resolution, though, did max out. Like, the resolution did not go all the way up to 4K, though, I think. I think it did max out at, like, a 1280 by 1024. You know, whatever, like, the maximum, 4:3 resolution would be, that was pretty much the max you could go up to. But it would say, for the graphics card, RX 6900 XT in, like, a 2001, 2002 Lego game. It's like really weird. I don't remember if it said that for Lego Racers 2 though. But Lego Racers 2 did work. So I don't know. Those are games that are candidates, like those old Lego games. There's a couple other ones as well. There's an old Bionicle game, an old like some other game, like old Lego games I used to play back in the day. Those are candidates for like nostalgia kind of streams or something, but at some point that maybe we'll do, maybe we won't, we'll see. But I'm not planning on doing them anytime soon though, but maybe at some point we will. I actually remember you talking about the Pentium computer. Yeah, I've had that computer for a long time. I mean, technically speaking, it's not the original computer, because it used to have a Pentium 4 in it, and also, like, it's the second one. We had two of them for a long time, then we got rid of one of them. And I still have the motherboard hanging on my wall and stuff. I don't know, it's a whole story. But the point is, that Pentium D computer that I played the Harry Potter game on is essentially the computer I more or less played those old games on back in the day, pretty much. It's basically the same thing except for a processor switch. The case is the same, the motherboard's the same, the RAM's the same. I mean, I did upgrade the RAM. It used to have like 512 megs, I think is what it came with. And now it's upgraded to 4 gigs, which is the maximum that the motherboard supports, and also it's the max of 32-bit Windows anyway, so you want to put Windows XP on that, you know, which is what I pretty much have been trying to do. I've been trying to get Windows XP. You would think that installing Windows XP on a Pentium D would be simple, because that was the original OS it ran, and it is simple to install, but getting everything to work correctly is harder than you would think. Making sure all the drivers are working, and also, like, the audio would be, like, wrong. Like, you would hear, you know, the iconic, you know, do, and it would sound wrong. It would sound, like, distorted. It was, like, really annoying, and I couldn't figure out how to fix it. But it doesn't happen if you install it in a virtual machine from the same CD. So my guess as to what's happening is that the sound, the onboard sound is just messed up. And that's why all the sound effects and also the mute, everything sounds wrong. Like, there's this old, like Encarta 98, this is a random thing to bring up, but since we're talking about old stuff, may as well. So Encarta 98, I used to really like booting up Encarta 98 as a kid because it had this really cool, like, startup sound. And if you do that startup sound on the Pentium D computer last time I tried it, it would be all distorted and wrong, and it was super distracting and drove me crazy, and I couldn't figure out how to fix it. So I've just kind of given up on trying to get XP running on that computer and not having the audio be wrong. Now, I should probably point out that it only affects XP, which I guess kind of defeats my entire theory about it being some hardware problem, because if I install Windows 8 on it, because if I don't have XP installed on it, I put 8 on it, because I don't have an extra key for 7, at least that would install properly. I have a bunch of OEM keys from laptops, but I don't have like a retail key for Windows 7, but I do have a retail key for Windows 8 that I'm obviously not using right now. So I'll put Windows 8.1 32-bit because it can't run the 64-bit version, because really annoyingly, the Pentium D supports Windows 8 64-bit, Windows 8.1 32-bit, but not Windows 8.1 64-bit, which is really annoying. So you have to pick between having the older version of Windows 8 that hasn't been supported since like 2016, or having Windows 8.1, which is more up-to-date and got updates as late as 2023, and also has more modern support for stuff, but is only 32-bit, so it's kind of like pick your poison. But to be fair, most of the programs you'd want to run on that thing are 32-bit anyway. You know, you're not going to be running, you know, a video editor on that thing, you know, or anything like that. That's it's not a big deal or anything. And obviously all those old games that were designed for 32-bit XP run fine, But my point is, the audio distortion doesn't happen on Windows 8.1. It only happens on XP for some reason, which is annoying. Because I want to run XP on it, because, you know, I want that to be my XP computer. Because I still have my original monitor and my original keyboard from back in the day. I still have it. They still work. So I'd like to be able to have that as like my XP, you know, nostalgia machine for messing around with old games or old software, or just, you know, wanting to boot up XP for a while. But I can't because the audio is all distorted, and if that doesn't happen, then like the computer will just kind of freak out sometimes, like where it won't boot correctly, or you have to reseat the RAM over and over again. I think my RAM is like faulty. It's also not helping as well. So I don't know, but that's a whole other thing, though. That's not, and it's obviously by no means a priority. Although DDR2, last I checked, is not exactly expensive or anything. Obviously, at least it wasn't when I got it like 10 years ago. But alrighty then. Let's see. Have you seen or played Lego Island 3? No, I have not. The only Lego games I've played, at least like from that generation, because obviously I've played, Lego Star Wars, like Lego Indiana Jones, a couple of the others. But in terms of like that early 2000s period of like PC Lego games, I've played Lego Island 2, Brixer's Revenge, Lego Racers 2, the Bionicle game from like 2003, 2004, whatever, that I never got very far in. Then Drome Racers, that's another one that's a Lego game, I think, technically. And then Lego Land, which is like a Sim City type thing, but like Lego. Those are the games I've played that's from that era. They were part of this like fun entertainment pack thing that came with our computer back in the day, which is why we had it. Unfortunately, all those original discs I lost a long time ago. So when I wanted to mess with those old games again and see if they would run on the modern computer without too much fuss, I had to go and find the ISOs for them online, which wasn't a big deal for the most part, but yeah. Who was the guy who primarily watched your Twitch? It was like me and him a few years ago. Vigibake, I believe is who you're referring to. Yeah, he was like one of the regulars, like for like a good like 2 years, I want to say 2-3 years. He stopped kind of showing up around like the middle of 2022, and I haven't really seen him since. But yeah, he was like a regular for a while. It was like you and him are kind of like the two regular viewers that would show up a lot of the time. It'd be cool if he popped up again, but at this point, I'm sure that's long since passed. Oh well, what are you gonna do? I do remember though, like a long time ago, like a few months after he kind of stopped showing up, I kind of sent him a message on Twitch that was like, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. Never got a reply or anything, but yeah, I don't know. It was nice while it lasted, I suppose. It was cool that he showed up for a lot of the streams. I was really, pretty much no matter what I streamed, he would show up. I thought that was really cool of him. But time moves on and all that. I would be very surprised if he showed up again. It'd be a Smash character review equivalent if he showed up again. It kind of would be. It kind of would be. It would kind of actually be a big deal, unironically, if he did. I'm not expecting it, though. Again, I think that time is long since passed. Didn't you have him on Discord a while ago? No, I never did, actually. Obviously, if I did, I probably would have sent him a message on there instead of Twitch, but... What I do know about Vigibake, though, is that at some point his Twitch account name was changed to something else, and that he also unfollowed me on Twitch around that time. So I'm not sure if something happened with his account or anything, but then I haven't seen him on YouTube either. Although he does still have a YouTube account. I know that. So, I don't know. I just assume that he just, I don't know. Lost interest, moved on, I don't know. Whatever happened, happened. It is what it is. Viewers come, viewers go, I suppose. But I do appreciate that you've stuck around, though. You've definitely been the longest recurring person, though. Yeah, about like 3-4 years, I think, at this point. I mean, sure, you haven't shown up to stuff as frequently as you used to, but you know, you're still around, and I appreciate that. Um, Not that I stream that much these days, admittedly. Yeah, I used to stream on Twitch way more often, you know, a few years ago, you know, 2020, 2021. It was a lot more frequent. Then I scaled that back, you know. And, you know, I haven't streamed on Twitch. I mean, I did do like 1 or 2 multi-stream things like last year, but for the most part, I haven't really streamed on Twitch since 2022. And even on YouTube, I haven't done many gaming streams. Most of my streams on YouTube have been mostly the reaction streams for like directs and stuff like that. That's been most of the streams I've done. I haven't done that many gaming streams. I mean, this is the first gaming stream I've done all year. It took me 5 months to get around to doing that. Okay, I just thought of something. So, you want to know what would be kind of funny? So, I mentioned the whole thing at the beginning of the stream about how, you know, obviously they're doing, like, the, you know, kind of like the great DK purge, where, like, they're purging the old rare version of DK and replacing with the new one. What if we got a Switch 2 edition? What if they replace the design? They're not gonna do that, but it would be kind of funny and people would be so mad. Like, not add skins, just replace the current DK with the new one. in like the Switch 2 version. They wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do that, but like it would be kind of funny. Yeah, connection's kind of dropping here. Oh yeah, this connection. This connection's struggling right now. Struggled the last couple of matches actually as well. I think the first few matches were actually a good connection, but some of these later ones have not been great. Obviously, okay, so you want to know a feature I would like in a Switch 2 edition? An option to, like, see what connection people are using. Like, being able to see if they're, like, wired or wireless. That'd be kind of nice. Because I am wired right now. But, of course, I have no way of knowing if other people are wired. I mean, I know wired's not a silver bullet or anything, but obviously that is better than wireless, so... Yeah, I don't know. Because, yeah, this connection right now is brutal. Kind of brutal right now. Assure you it's not me. Yeah. Oh, I didn't realize I stole another life. Oh, man. Are we gonna get a connection error? Connection error? Come on. There it is. Oh, man, we've gotten a couple of those, actually. I got diamond hands in the Logan streams. Oh yeah, I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to. I assume it is, but the oh well, wrong song. But you know what? I'll take it because I've complained kind of for years about how I don't like how like you can like my like little like nitpick is I don't like that when you're playing online like it will just play any song from the game and that personally kind of bugs me when you're playing on like these stages. Like, I want it to only play the music that's supposed to be on it. This is not the correct music, but at least it's more correct than playing, you know, WarioWare or whatever, so I guess I'll take it. But yeah, yeah, the VIP badge, though. Yeah, the VIP badge. I assume that's what you're referring to, yeah. I think, yeah, the VIP badge, I believe up to 5 people could have one at once, at least at the time I last checked. You might be able to get more if the channel gets bigger. I'm not sure if more unlocks. But at least at the time, I had like 5. And I believe the people that had it were, yeah, Vigibake, you, Jay, Ethan, and was there one more? There might have been one more, but those are the four I know for a fact that were on that VIP thing. Because they were either the most frequent, or they were just people I wanted to put in the VIP thing. Like, obviously, you and Vigibake were kind of like the recurring viewers, and Ethan and Jay I mainly put in there. It's just kind of like a, you know, why not kind of thing. I mean, the VIP badge doesn't do anything, obviously, it's just cosmetic, but, you know. Although, at one point, I kind of worried about that, because it made it seem like some people were more important than others, and that never really was a problem or anything, but there was a part of me I wondered if maybe I should just not even bother with the VIP badge thing at all. But hey, here on YouTube, there is no VIP badge. Everyone is truly equal in the chat. There's no special indicators of anything. Although, if I had memberships turned on, you could get a membership, and that would give you an icon. But I don't have memberships anyway, so... Not that I could, because I don't have enough... I don't have a... I couldn't turn on... I don't think I could turn on memberships even if I wanted to, because I don't meet the requirements, like the view count or whatever the heck it is. You have to meet in order to get in the partner program. I used to be in the partner program, but then I got kicked out because I fell below the number when I delisted a bunch of old videos that weren't... They didn't really make sense to be up anymore. Like, I had that old Yokai Watch Japanese movie opening video that had like 1 million views. I delisted that. I had the Etika compilation that was actually incomplete because I screwed up on it. That one also I delisted. And those ones had a ton of views. But when I delisted them, that lowered me below the threshold. So now, yeah. I don't have the partnership program, therefore I can't monetize or do memberships or anything like that. Not that that really matters, because, I mean, who's going to buy membership to someone who barely uploads, you know? But yeah, monetization, I guess, would have been neat, but, again, my view, there wouldn't really have been much. I mean, I think I got, like, maybe, like, I'd have to check how much I actually, because you have to meet a certain threshold before YouTube will actually give you the money. I think I did grand total get maybe, like, I forget how much. Maybe, like, unironically, like 30 cents. I think last time I looked was the number. You know, not, obviously, nearly enough for them to, like, pay out or anything. And I mean, it's 30 cents, so who cares anyway, but... Yeah. Did you hear that? That victory theme? That was the orchestral one, although it does cut a little weird, I'll admit. 30C is actually wild. YouTube doesn't support VIP discrimination. I'd have to actually check. I'd have to check. What's it called? Is it Google Analytics? No, I think Google Analytics is different. I forget. Whatever the thing is where you can like see the payout. Let me see YouTube. Let me see if I can still see it. Because even though I'm not in the program anymore, maybe I still have like a old. Oh wow! Communication error before the thing even starts. Wow, that's. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Let me see it. Where can I look at the AdSense? AdSense, that's what it's called. I was like, what's the word? I couldn't remember. AdSense. AdSense. That's the word. I want to look at my AdSense. I want to see if I can see if the number is any different, or if it's even still there. It might not even be there anymore. That person's just taunting. MCNs. I forgot about MCNs. Those used to be a thing, like, in, like, the mid-2010s, like, early to mid-2010s was when MCNs were kind of a thing. Like, you know, Machinima. Remember Machinima? They were an MCN. Maker Studios was an MCN. There are others as well, I'm probably forgetting, but those are the two I can think of off the top of my head. Yeah, those were a thing once upon a time. I mean, I'm sure they still exist somewhere. Yeah, the classic Machinima opening. It's burned into my brain. From so many YouTube videos over the years. Speaking of Machinima, you want to know something I haven't actively tried to find it admittedly too much, but there's this old Melee Machinima video that I still remember, like, exactly. It was like, it was like a video where, like, I think you were, like, it was in Melee, it was a Melee Machinima video, and it had this, like, music that I still remember very well all these years later, where they would, like, hit characters across stages using, like, the bat. And I still remember the music. It was like do 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 do. I'm probably not doing a good job of that at all, but I still remember the music, and I remember what the video was about, and I don't even know if it still exists, because I know that when Machinima, like, fully shut down, I want to say around 2019 or so. When that happened, a lot of, like, old stuff that they published, like, went away. So I don't know if people had that archived or if that was, like, on a separate channel. I don't even remember. I haven't seen that video in, like, over a decade, but I still remember it all these years later. I still remember that music, which I've never heard in anything else. I only heard it in that video, so I assume it was made for the video. The Brawl Meta Knight rap song. That sounds familiar. I don't remember a single thing about it, but that what you just said, that sounds like a thing that existed. And I probably remember at least seeing at one point. But I don't remember a thing about it. But I remember that Melee Machinima. I remember that ice cold pretty much. It's weird that I remember the music to that so well. And that Daisy is, not doing anything. Was that just gonna be the chimps? Nope. I haven't moved the control. Because I'm not playing right now, obviously. Copy. Okay, so so right now the YouTube partner program eligibility requirements are you need to have 500 subscribers, which I'm pretty sure is lower than when it used to be. I think it used to be 1,000 subscribers. Now it's 500. And you have to have had at least 3 video uploads in the last 90 days. And then you also have to have either 201... Wait. No, sorry. I'm looking at the wrong number. You need to have either 3,000 public watch hours or 3 million shorts views. One or the other. It doesn't matter which one. And right now, I have, at least for anything that's public, I have 201 valid public watch hours and 523 valid public shorts views in the last 90 days. It has to be the last 90 days as well, I think, which is another kind of like key thing. Because I put out that Pokemon Presents short that did well, like right before the event happened. But the last short I did before that was my very niche. No one really watched it. Not that I was expecting people to watch. I really just made it because I wanted to make it. The problem with the Live Gamer 4K 2.1 short I made, which was about a capture card that was coming out at the time. And then that Mario Kart one I did, that was the first short I ever did. That one did pretty well. That one got like 12,000 views, I think. And then I did the poorly aged Why the Switch 2 will release in 2024 short that got like 1,000 or so views. That one aged poorly, obviously. And the fact that they still haven't discontinued the Switch shows that my whole theory of they have to kill it off eventually because the Tegra X1, they're not making it anymore, that clearly didn't mean anything. They clearly have some kind of deal with NVIDIA to still make it at least for them, or else they still wouldn't be making them. But we'll see. That short aged like milk, but... Alrighty, so we've been going now for about 2 hours, 30 minutes. Solid time right there. Still doing good so far. Is it just me, or did that last longer than it's supposed to? I feel like that lasted a few more seconds longer than it should, but I don't know. Crap. I wouldn't be able to join if Nintendo didn't give Switch Online free trials out like candy. Well, you want to know something? I was going to bring this up otherwise, but honestly, I would have totally been cool with adding you to my family group. If you wanted. Because we got 2 extra slots right now, and no one else is using them. I mean, we can still do that if you want. You can join in on that. Obviously, no guarantee of you being in that long term, but at least for the time being, you know. Well, I'm not sure if I'm in one already. Well, I mean, you said you said you didn't have online before, so that means you're not in one. Because if you were in one, then you would have online. So that means you're not in one right now. At least, right? Like, wouldn't that make sense? But yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah, I'm totally down. You know, if you want to, yeah, join in, absolutely. Yeah, we got 2 free slots right now. No one else is using them. Obviously, you're established. I've known you for years. You know, I'm totally down to add you. Again, no guarantee of long term. You never know what'll happen, but yeah, I'm down to do that. And it is the expansion pack, so you get everything. You get all the stuff. I don't know what you had before, but I'm just saying. Because right now, right now in the family plan, so right now the family plan is me, my brother, my dad, who rarely plays the Switch, but we put him on the plan just so he could, like, whenever he played Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, he could have his save data just transfer over with the cloud, no matter whose Switch he was playing on. So we just added him for that reason, but we could easily remove him and it wouldn't be a big deal if we had to. But yes, it's me, my brother, my dad. One of my brother's friends is also on the plan, and then Ethan is on the plan, and then my brother has, like, a alt account that he made just to, like, mess with people online when they would, like, block him on his main account or whatever, and that's also on the plan. So there's effectively 5 real people on that plan. And right now there's 2 slots that are not being used for anything. And there's no one really else that I can imagine adding to that. There's no one else I really know where it'd be, because, you know, because, yeah, Ethan's really the only other person, you know, he's the only other person I really ever talk to, the only other person I know that has a Switch that I actively talk to, so, you know, he's on the plan. But yeah, I mean, hey, if I can help people out, you know, then I'm down for that. Again, just with the asterisk of, you know, this may go away eventually if someone more important needs to be added. Although I can't imagine that would happen anytime soon, if we ran out of slots. But we got 2 slots left, so, yeah. I mean, my whole idea with the family plan, what I wanted to do was, so obviously the family plan with the expansion pack is like $80 a year. But if you have 8 people in the plan, then it's $10 each, right? And that's an absolute steal, right? Like, no matter how you feel about the expansion pack or NSO in general, you cannot tell me that $10 for everything is not a steal. Now, we have not actually gotten around to doing that. To, like, having it be split up like that. Basically, we just pay for it and everyone else benefits. It hasn't really been a big deal, but I don't know, one of these days I'd like to be able to do, you know, the, hey, you know, everyone pay their share type thing at some point, but whatever. That's not how it's working for now, though. So essentially, for now, everyone's getting a free ride. Your brother's so real for that. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably the first account we would get rid of on that. Like, if we ever ran out of slots and we wanted to add someone else that was, like, more important or whatever, I think what we would do is we would either get rid of Dad's account, because he doesn't really use the Switch anyway. We really just had that for the cloud save feature and nothing else. It doesn't matter right now, at least. Because he's not going to use the Switch, or I guess the Switch 2, until the next Zelda comes out. So that's pretty much the only thing he's played on it. So we could get rid of his account, and we could also get rid of that alt account for my brother, maybe. But again, that's only once we get all the slots used up. And again, we got 2 more slots left, so it doesn't matter for now. What music is this? I actually don't know. I didn't pay attention. But I'm not sure what it is. I don't recognize it. Yeah, it makes sense. I thought it was like a PlayStation game sharing primary console shenanigans. Yeah, no, that's a different thing. The primary console thing, that's a whole other thing. That's a whole other thing. Yeah, what I'm talking about is just like, you know, you get added to the family group and now you get all the NSO benefits. That's what we're talking about right now. Right? There's nothing to do with game sharing or, you know, both like the regular primary, secondary thing or the new virtual game card. Yeah, we're not talking about that at all. We're just talking about, yeah, the online. Online's pretty simple. Just add yourself to the group and you're in, baby. That's all that really is. Which, by the way, there's a new portal for the Nintendo account on PC. It's at account.nintendo.com. And you can actually do your virtual game card stuff on there, which is kind of interesting. You don't even need to use the Switch for that. So yeah, you can load on other systems, you can download data, you can like do all of the virtual game card stuff just on the thing. And it'll tell you where it is. Like for example, obviously you can't see this on right now because I'm looking at it on the other monitor. But right now I can see, you know, my Splatoon 3 DLC, and it says loaded on Logan 589XP's Switch, and then it says, you know, Nintendo Switch with the gray Joy-Cons right below it. And the Joy-Con colors will be lined up to like whatever color you have, I believe. The only reason it's gray right now is because I don't actually have any Joy-Cons hooked up right now, so I assume it just defaults to gray if there's nothing hooked up. I'm actually in the process of trying to replace my existing Joy-Cons with different ones, but that's a whole other thing. Yeah, so yeah, you can do the virtual game card thing on the website. You can also see all of your consoles that are registered to your account. Or consoles that you have your account on. So right now I just have one console, which of course is my Switch. But of course in a month there will be a second console on there as well. And again, I'm keeping my current Switch, at least for the time being. I'm probably not going to get rid of it, but I'm definitely going to want to hold on to it at least until Homebrew gets going on the Switch too. So I'll have two things on there. And then, so that means I'll have the Switch 2 set as my primary console, and then the Switch 1 will be like secondary, so I'll get to like really mess with that whole, see what that whole experience is like, and also get to mess with like the virtual game card stuff. I'll be able to mess with that some more once I actually have like two systems where I can do that with. Not that it really matters or anything. I mean, the only game I really intend on playing on the Switch 1 at all after that point will be, again, probably Smash for the mods, for like mod support, but that's about it. Everything else, I'll just play on the Switch too. Especially games where like all the data is gonna move over and won't come back. Like Splatoon 2 and 3, like, are games that don't like fully support the cloud function. I mean, Splatoon 2 doesn't support cloud saves at all. And then Splatoon 3 only like half supports it. It supports it for the single player stuff, but not the online. So once that data gets transferred over to the Switch 2, it's not coming back. So yeah. Not that it matters for a game like that or anything, but... We've been getting this stage quite a bit. Like, is someone just picking this stage every single time? At least the connection's good. A good connection on this one. Yeah, that one lasted more like the length you would expect it to last. I mean, one other thing I know I would like, and I know this is not new at all, is like a boss toggle. Because obviously we have the hazard toggle, right? We have the hazard toggle, but we don't have a boss toggle, because I would play on the stage more often if I could have the platforms, but not have the Yellow Devil. Not that I, like, hate the Yellow Devil or anything. I actually don't have a problem with most hazards. But it would be nice to be able to play this stage and have, like, the platforms, but not have the Yellow Devil. And that's not really an option right now. That's something I would definitely want in a Switch 2 version. Is, like, you obviously keep the overall hazard toggle, but also have a boss toggle. You can, yeah, play this stage with the platforms, but not have to deal with him if you don't want him. You know? You want to know something else I want in a Switch 2 edition? Is I want them to go back and complete the Palutena's Guidance again. Because I really liked Palutena's Guidance in Smash 4, but then none of the DLC got a Palutena's Guidance. And then when Ultimate came out, they did Palutena's Guidance, they updated it for all of the characters they didn't do before, up until the base game. And then for the Ultimate DLC, they didn't do it again. And also the voice actress for Palutena, I think, was different with the Ultimate ones, so it's like also kind of off-putting. So it's like fix Palutena's Guidance, you know, basically, because I really like Palutena's Guidance. I think it's a neat little Easter egg thing, but they like haven't handled it the best because they like do it for the base game and then they don't update it again. So you just get that, you know, I have no data on this fighter. I can't believe it. You know, it's just like, I don't know. Would it really kill them to just get them in the booth and record like a couple of sentences every time they put out a DLC character? I don't know. But obviously in this theoretical scenario where they update it again, that means on paper all of the Ultimate DLC will get lines, but then none of the characters after that do. You know. If we got more characters after that anyway, I don't know. Okay, something different. Custom stage. No one's done a custom stage yet. I haven't played on a custom stage in like a really long time, honestly. You know something that people haven't really talked about, I feel, when it comes to Smash 6? I'm sure I've mentioned this before in a stream, but I'll bring it up again, because it is relevant. Or it matters, I should say, is, what are they gonna do with the announcer? Like, obviously, if we get Ultimate Switch 2 Edition, obviously they're gonna get Xander Mobus back in to record more lines and all that stuff. But, like, for Smash 6, will they bring Xander back again for a third time, or will they get someone new? Because I think it made perfect sense to bring Xander back in Ultimate, because it had only been a few years since Smash 4, and he was pretty popular. And it just made sense, you know, for a game like that, because Ultimate, you know, while it's not a Smash 4 port, it's kind of like an expanded version of it in a way, at least like at its core. I mean, again, it's not a Smash 4 port. It's not Smash 4. It doesn't play like Smash 4. But, you know, but it's the most similar to Smash 4 of any of the others. So, you know, it made sense to bring him back for that one game. But would it make sense to bring him back again, or should they do a clean slate and give us a new voice for the first time in a decade? Because we've had iconic voices before. I mean, obviously the Melee announcer is incredibly iconic. The Brawl one is good too. Obviously Xander is good, but I don't know. I mean, if they brought him back again, that'd be totally fine. I don't think anyone would be complaining about that. He's very much cemented himself as like the announcer at this point. But I think it'd be kind of cool if we got a new one, because that used to be the trend, right? Every game got a new announcer. And especially if the next game is going to be like a decent shake-up, you know, it would make sense to have someone new. I don't know who that would be, but I don't know. It's not the most important thing in the world who the announcer is. I'm sure they'll do a good job no matter who it is, but... But having a new announcer helps give a new game a distinct identity, right? Like, Melee's announcer is so tied to Melee that you couldn't separate the two, right? It's so incredibly iconic, you know? Whereas, like, you know, because Smash 4 and Ultimate share the same, you know, voice, you know, it makes them feel more similar than the other games, even if they are more similar to each other than any other game in the franchise, like I said. Just because the gap was, like, the shortest, you know, at least of the modern games. I mean, obviously, you know, the gap between 64 and Melee was like 2 years, but that was like, you know, that was a different time though. That was different. That was a different time, and obviously going from the N64 to the GameCube was a big leap. Whereas, you know, going from the Wii U to the Switch, not as much. You know, the Switch is better than the Wii U, but not by a ton. You know, whereas, you know, the gap between, even though the Switch 2 games we've seen so far don't look crazy better than the Switch games, the Switch 2 is much more powerful compared to the Switch, compared to the Switch was to the Wii U. You know? Like, you know how people call, like, the Wii an overclocked GameCube, because that's kind of what it is? That's kind of what the Switch is to the Wii U. I mean, not quite as blatantly as that. Like, the Switch is more powerful than the Wii U compared to, like, the Wii to the GameCube. But it's still not a ton better. You know, it's better, and the games do look better. If you compare, like, the Wii U versions of franchises to their Switch iterations, the Switch versions do look mostly better, but it's not, like, a ton better. It's not wildly better. But the Switch to the Switch 2 is a legit generation bump. So, eventually we will see games that look significantly better than the current Switch games eventually. We just haven't seen them yet because we only have launched games that were probably designed with the current Switch in mind at first anyway. But we'll get there eventually. Not that the current games look bad or anything, obviously. Most first-party games actually look pretty solid. Most first-party games, obviously there's a big exception in there for a certain franchise, but you get the idea. Let's see, off topic, but I thought I sent a friend request on PlayStation a while ago. Did you receive it? I don't think I ever got a request from you on PlayStation. I mean, maybe I did, and I just didn't recognize the name. Like, what do you call on PlayStation? Because if you're called something I never would guess, then maybe I did see it and I just never did anything because I didn't know it was you. This isn't a Discord situation. It's a... Okay, yeah. I don't remember ever getting an invite from that. So... yeah, if you, like, sent me another invite, I will definitely accept it. I don't remember ever getting one from you under that name. Not that I have a lot of friends on my PlayStation account anyway, but yeah, you just send me another invite and I'll make sure I get that. Because, yeah, sometimes people have, like, different names for different stuff. I mean, it's pretty consistent, you know? It's Logan589XP on basically everything. No matter what the platform, that's my name on everything. It's consistent, and you can't mistake it. So, something that's also kind of unrelated to anything I've talked about so far is, so I believe this happened either today or yesterday, but, Microsoft announced, something that's been rumored for a while, which is, a Gears remaster. I mean, there were rumors of, like, a Gears, like, collection, like a Gears, like, 1 through 3, like, remastered collection, in a similar design as the MCC, where it's all like a unified interface and everything. But that did not happen. Instead, what we got was another connection error. That was weird. That's kind of odd. The connection error... the connection was actually fine for that battle. I don't know. Maybe someone quit. I don't know. I guess someone did. Go. Hold on. Chillax. Let him join. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so we got Gears of War. I want to say Reloaded is what it's called, which is a enhanced version of Gears of War Ultimate Edition. For those of you that remember that came out in 2015. And it's coming out on Series X and S, PC, both Microsoft Store and Steam, and of course the big one, PlayStation 5, which is not surprising, of course, because Microsoft has been very public about the fact that they're all in on multi-platform now, for better or for worse. Everyone's got their opinion on it, but it's what they're doing, you know. And and now we have two of the big three, you know, the big three Microsoft franchises, right? We have Forza Horizon 5, got a port last month. Now we have Gears of War Reloaded coming, and I assume that E-Day will come to PlayStation as well eventually, when that comes out. Which, of course, leaves us with one franchise left. The big one we've been waiting for. You know the one I'm talking about, that's for sure. Okay, that was probably really bad. Oh, man. That was probably really bad. But also... Okay, but in all seriousness, I mean, we all know it's coming. It's inevitable. It's been rumored for a while. I know like a month or two ago there was a rumor about the Master Chief Collection coming to both PS5 and the Switch too, but like, I mean, we got Forza, we got Gears. It's only a matter of time until the Chief lands on PlayStation. It's only a matter of time. It's going to happen, and when that happens, man, it's gonna be an event, right? We're talking Halo, Microsoft's flagship franchise, the franchise that built Xbox all the way back with Halo Combat Evolved in 2001. And despite its turbulent history in the last decade or so, it's still a big deal, you know? Sure, it's not the peak of the Bungie days, but Halo still has a prestige, I feel, you know? So the fact that it will come to PlayStation, and the Switch too for that matter, but especially PlayStation, you know, that's gonna be like an event, you know? We got another person quit. Yeah, that did not look like that was someone quitting, I'm like pretty sure. Because the connection was fine. But yeah, Halo, man, it's a matter of time, you know, when are they going to announce it? Well, Microsoft has already announced their E3 equivalent, you know, games showcase. It's going to be happening in June. I think it might be there, because they've already announced PlayStation versions of things in their own events before. Because when we had the Developer Direct, earlier this year that had the new Ninja Gaiden in it, they mentioned that it would be coming to PS5. Like, all the games in that presentation they mentioned were coming to PS5 in their own event. So I fully expect that in June, when they finally announce MCC for other consoles, they're gonna prominently say, you know, Master Chief finally comes to PlayStation and Nintendo. You know, that's gonna be like a big thing for them. And, you know, and it will be a big deal. But at the same time, it does kind of represent like the final nail on the coffin, right? You know, once Halo, the big flagship, that is their Mario. When it's available on PlayStation, what's the purpose of buying their console, right? I mean, I have a Series X, and I like it. It's a good console. I have Game Pass, all that stuff, but I am losing reasons to hold on to it, I will say. I am losing reasons to hold on to it. The more time passes and the more games come to PlayStation, I'm losing reasons, you know? I'm still going to hold on to the Series X for the rest of the generation, but I don't know if I'm going to end up getting the next generation Xbox. And there will be a next generation Xbox. They've reaffirmed that several times, but by that point, you know, everything is going to be coming to PlayStation the same day. And it's like, if I can get Forza Horizon 6 and the new Halo day one on PlayStation, even if it's without Game Pass, you know, is it really worth it to have an Xbox? Especially because those are the only two franchises I like really care about. I don't really care about Gears personally, but I really like Forza Horizon. Not Motorsport, but Horizon. I really like Horizon. I played a ton of 4 and 5. So of course I'm gonna play 6 when that comes out. And of course, you know, Halo, you know, I do like Halo. I've played a lot of MCC, even a decent amount of Infinite, so obviously I'm interested in whatever happens with them, because of course they're moving to Unreal Engine 5, and 343 renamed the studio to Halo Studios and stuff, and people are like, yeah, we'll see how that goes, because we've been through this before, but I don't know. But again, regardless of how you think about the state of Halo and what's now Halo Studios, formerly 343, you know, but again, regardless of all that stuff, you know, I mean, again, just Halo being on PlayStation, you know, that's a big deal. You know, it's the final nail on the coffin. Once the franchise that built Xbox is on PlayStation, why should you buy an Xbox? At least a Series X. I mean, the Series S has the price point going for it, or at least it did. I mean, I know there was the price hikes that we got recently, but before that point, you know, the price was like, you know, you get it for like $250, sometimes even $200 on eBay. And I like the Series S. I mean, I have my issues with it. I think it's a bit too cut back. I think it should have had 12 gigs instead of 10 gigs, for example, of RAM. But I actually did have a Series S for a brief period of time, and I did like it. I think it's a neat little console. I like the form factor a lot, although I wish I had a disc drive, but Xbox has long since given up the ghost on physical media at this point. But I mean, the Series X, though, I mean, that's going to be a bit of a hard sell, especially at the new price point, at least at the new official price point. Now, again, eBay exists, Facebook Marketplace exists, other places exist, but the new official MSRP is like $600, which means that for the first time since 2006, we can finally say that a flagship console costs, say it with me, $599 US. I mean, I know we had the PS5 Pro last year, but to be fair to the PS5 Pro, yeah, that was a lot of money. Yeah, that's too much. At least for me. I'd like a PS5 Pro. I'd like that PS5 Pro. But $700, and that's $700 without the disc drive. I think that's a bit too much. If it was $700 with the disc drive, or $600 with the disc drive, it'd be different. But $700 without the disc drive, that's too much for me, especially when the PS5 runs most of the games I care about fine already. My kind of thinking is that if I get one, it's going to be for GTA 6, right? That's going to be the big kind of game for the PS5 Pro. And of course, GTA 6 got delayed. So unsurprisingly, everyone saw that coming a mile away. It got delayed to May of next year. And who knows if it'll get delayed again. You know, obviously, this is Rockstar we're talking about, so who knows, but I don't know. I mean, obviously, we'll have to see how it all pans out. I don't know. Microsoft, you know, I don't rag on Microsoft, you know, or anything. I don't really rag on the companies in general. It's just not really something I do, you know. I like, you know, I have a PlayStation 5, I have a Series X, I have a Switch, I'm gonna have a Switch 2. I like all the consoles. They all have their pros, they all have their cons. I don't really engage in, you know, console war nonsense or anything. But I have to say, though, I mean, again, why would someone spend $600 for a console that has no exclusives? You know, like, that's kind of the problem, you know, that Microsoft is facing. Never mind how much the next Xbox may cost. So, because at least with the PS5 Pro, say what you will about the price tag, but at least it's optional, right? You don't need a PS5 Pro. You can just stick with your current PS5. You don't get that with the Series X. The Series X is the well, I mean, I guess it's a Series S, but the Series S is its own thing, so I'm not really counting that. The corner got you. Halo 3 multiplayer on PlayStation would be huge. That's gonna be... I'm honestly debating getting it, because I already have MCC on Xbox. And not just through Game Pass, like, I bought it, like, forever ago. I have it on Xbox. So therefore, I have no real reason to get it on PlayStation, because it already runs at, like, 4K 120 on Series X. So there's no reason to get it on the PS5. They'll run exactly the same. But I'm tempted to get it just because of how much of a landmark moment it is. You know, it's Halo on PlayStation, you know? That might even be a stream. Unironically. I might unironically stream that. That's how big of a deal it is. I wonder if all your save data would carry over, because I think it would have Microsoft integration still, because like Minecraft has Microsoft integration, for example. So I'm guessing all of your stuff would still carry over from the Xbox version, and I wouldn't be starting from scratch. But I don't know. I mean, granted, if it's going to be $60, then I'm probably not going to bother. Obviously, rebuying a game I don't need to rebuy, but I'd probably end up getting it at some point, especially if I end up getting rid of the Series X at some point. Then, of course, I'll have to get MCC on PlayStation so I can keep playing it. Connection is not looking great. Oh, whoa. Now, as far as Series X console sales is concerned, I know that the PS5 is around 70, 75 million right now. The Series X and S combined, I want to say, is around like 25, 30 million last I checked. Which is not great, obviously. I'm not sure if that's better or worse than the Xbox One during that same time. I want to say that's actually worse, but I'm not actually sure about that. The Xbox. So here's something I will say about the Xbox One, right? Everyone loves to hit on the Xbox One. You know, for the 2013 Don Matrick TV, you know, the famous, you know, line of, you know, oh, we have sling for people that don't want any kind of connectivity. You get Xbox 360, and all that stuff. That really shot them in the foot and crippled them for the rest of the generation, no matter what they did. But the Xbox One, by the end of its life, they did okay. It wasn't great, but, like, it did okay. I think it sold about, like, 50-something million. That's an okay... No, that's better than the original Xbox. The original Xbox sold, like, half that number. Like, that's a decent amount of units. It's nothing crazy. It was nowhere near as good as the PS4, but, like, it did fine in the end. And Phil Spencer managed to ride the ship of the Xbox One in the end. He managed to make it into something, even if it wasn't a crazy success. The Series X, though, I want to say last I checked is, you know, I believe is actually doing worse in that same time scale. Because, so, with the Xbox One, so they discontinued the Xbox One before the Series X even came out, or around the time the Series X came out, because Sony 2 months beforehand, because the Wii U was actually discontinued in January of 2017, 2 months before the Switch came out. I mean, there's no surprise as to why. No one was buying one at that point. That's why they killed it off before the system was even out the door. But I don't know, it was probably a similar situation. I mean, obviously the Xbox One did way better than the Wii U, but maybe that is, you know, part of the reason why they killed off the Xbox One beforehand, because, you know, it did fine in the end, but it still didn't do great, and no one was going to be buying one after the fact. So they probably figured, no, we'll just kill it off and focus all of our attention on the Series X and S. And I think if the Series S didn't exist, they would have kept the Xbox One around longer. But because the Series S was there at launch as their $300 budget option, that gave them an easy justification to kill off the Xbox One and not keep it around. Yeah, really curious how the next one's gonna do. Yeah, I mean, the next one, I mean, again, the next one's going to have a real uphill battle. I don't think Game Pass is going to be enough to sell them. And Game Pass is cool. I like Game Pass. I've had it for a long time. But I don't think that's going to be enough for most people to get an Xbox over a PlayStation when you can get all of Xbox's games on a PlayStation. That's the whole problem, right? Like, I mean, yes, you don't have Game Pass on a PlayStation. They'll probably never have it on a PlayStation because Sony wouldn't want to lose out on money, obviously, by putting it on there. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see, obviously. We'll see what happens, but does not look good for the next console in terms of sales, that's for sure. Another connection error. Why does this keep happening? Angel Boy, he's back. I think he was in the stream earlier, actually. It's like, there normally is not this many connection issues. But I'm not sure how many... some of them are definitely connection issues, and some of them are definitely people just, like, leaving. It's like half and half, I want to say. Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't want Xbox to, you know... I mean, Xbox is weird, because it's like, I don't want them to leave the hardware business. I like having an Xbox around, you know. it would feel really weird not having them because we've always had 3 consoles. Well, maybe not always, but we've had 3 consoles for a long time. Ever since 1994, when the original PlayStation launched, we've always had 3, right? We had the PlayStation, N64, and the Saturn. And then we had the rare 4-way that didn't last very long. We had the rare 4-way of the Dreamcast, GameCube, PlayStation 2, and the original Xbox. And there's that famous screenshot from like E3 2001 where you have all 4 of the logos lined up in a row, and it's kind of like weird. Especially because the Dreamcast was killed not too long after. They killed it by the end of 2001, 2002, I think. But yeah, then of course we settled into what we've had now for the last decade with, Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony being the big 3 in the console business, We had, GameCube, PS2, and Xbox. Then we had the Wii, PS3, and GameCube. Then we had the Wii U, PS4, and Xbox One. And then halfway through, we got the Switch. And then, of course, now we have the PS5, Series X and S, and now the Switch 2. So if Microsoft left the hardware industry and just became a third, and if they really did become Sega, because they're not Sega. A lot of people have said they're Sega. They're not Sega yet, because what made Sega Sega is that they stopped making consoles. But the Xbox is still making consoles. So, and they're still going to be making consoles for at least another generation. So, they don't become fully Sega, fully third party until they stop having their own hardware. As long as they have their own hardware, then they're not third party just yet. They're just multi-platform, which I know is like the same thing to a lot of people, but I consider it to be different. Being, quote, third party is you don't have your own hardware. Being multi-platform means your game is on multiple platforms, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have your own. That's at least the distinction I'm making, Right? Microsoft, their games are on PlayStation, they're on PC, they're going to be on the Switch too, but they still have their own hardware. They have the Series X and S, those are still kicking along, those are still getting all their games, obviously. And then we're going to have a next generation Series X successor. There's also that handheld that's supposed to be coming, But again, you don't have to buy an Xbox to get their games in it. For better or for worse, I mean, obviously it's neat that like you can play Halo and Gears and Forza on a PlayStation. That's cool and all. But then it also kind of removes the purpose of buying the actual hardware. Okay, like let me be real for a second, right? Would anyone buy a Switch 2 if you could play Mario Kart and Kirby and all those other games on a PS5? Like really, like genuinely. I mean, obviously there are people that would want the handheld functionality, but if you just wanted a regular console and didn't care about the handheld stuff at all, would people buy a Switch 2 if you could get Mario Kart on a PlayStation or even an Xbox? I'm not convinced that people would. Some people would, but not enough. Because, at least for me, this may not be the case for everyone, but for me, a Nintendo console's entire purpose is to be just that, a Nintendo console. If it gets third-party games, cool. If they run well, cool. But that's not what matters. What sells a Nintendo console is first-party games. It's the only reason anyone buys one. If you could play those games on PlayStation, no one would buy a Switch or a Switch 2. Or at least significantly less people would. That's the way I look at it. This is by no means exclusive to Microsoft, right? Nintendo's entire identity is built upon their exclusives. If they lose their exclusives, then no one would buy their hardware, right? It's just the truth of the matter, I love Nintendo a lot, despite all their flaws. But that's the truth. Like, people would never buy a Switch 2 if you could play those games on PlayStation or PC or PC officially. Obviously, there's emulators, but like a Steam release, stuff like that. Like, I don't know. Especially because we have all the PC handhelds, right? We have the Steam Deck, we have the ROG Ally, so it's even less. So if their games are on Steam, you could still get, the official, I mean, again, emulators exist, but I'm not talking about emulators, I'm talking about like an official, like proper PC version. If you could get that on a Steam Deck or ROG Ally, then like, you know, that's, so like, that would, so like, if you could get those games on PlayStation and Steam, that would cover both grounds. You could get like an ROG Ally or a Steam Deck or whatever, and get the games that way on the go if you want to play them on the go. And if you want to just play them on a console, you could just play them on your, like, that's the whole thing. It's like, I don't know. I mean, obviously Nintendo has carved their own niche with the Switch in Switch 2, but with it being a hybrid and not being a traditional console necessarily. But I don't know if that'd be enough. If their games are not exclusive. Now they are, obviously, and they're never going to give that up. Because, like I said, Nintendo exclusives literally make or break a Nintendo console. You lose the exclusivity, no one has a reason to buy your console anymore. We see it with Xbox. It would be even stronger with Nintendo, I feel. Because the reason why everyone, you know, the reason why people, you know, for lack of a better term, put up with the hardware and the online and all that stuff is because of the games that you can only get on that system. If the games are available on a more powerful platform, people would play it on that platform. At least that's how I feel. I'm sure people would have disagreements about that. That's fine. I get it. And obviously Nintendo's hardware has its perks. Like, again, the hybrid functionality is neat, but that wouldn't be enough for me, I feel. You know, I feel like if I didn't have to have a Switch 2 to play all their games, would I get a Switch 2? Even for someone like me, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't. I think it would depend on how much I use the handheld functionality. But I don't know. That's just me. But as is, though, we live in a world where you need to buy a Nintendo console to play Nintendo's games, so therefore I'm getting a Switch 2 and every Nintendo console that comes out for the rest of time, because I'm always going to want to be able to play the newest Mario, Zelda, Smash, Splatoon, etc. As long as those games continue to come out, and you can only buy them on their hardware, and those games stay good, then I will keep buying the hardware. It's just how it is, you know? Oh, yeah. Also, I didn't mention it the entire time because I was too busy talking about other stuff. But yeah, that I don't think I've ever seen that version of the Sakurai stage before. I've seen people make that. I've seen people make that stage before, but I've never seen that specific version. That face is very detailed. It's probably the most detailed one I've seen. And that's the one where he has the control. I forget which presentation it was, but I know there was the presentation where he had the two controllers. I forget which presentation that was for. It was for a DLC character. I know it was one of those presentations. I forget which character it was for though. But I want to say Terry for some reason, but that's probably not it. Hey, look, I'm not Dark Pit. I'm like Dark Pit, but like not actually Dark Pit. It's kind of a weird skin that they have. Like, why would you have a Dark Pit skin for regular Pit when Dark Pit exists? So this stage actually, you know something about that I think is actually a really good thing that they've done that the Switch generation has brought is it's given Nintendo a distinct brand color for the first time in a while. Because back in like the 80s and 90s, red was kind of their color, but not fully. I mean, of course, there's the old like red Nintendo logo, but it wasn't as prominent as it is now. But, you know, during the Iwata era, right, you know, during like the Wii, Wii U, DS, 3DS, they didn't really have a distinguishing brand color that separated them from everyone else. It kind of was just whatever. Sometimes it was black, sometimes it was white, sometimes it was blue in the case of the Wii U, but they didn't have like a super strong identity. You know, Xbox was green, PlayStation was blue. That's been their identity for a really long... I mean, Xbox has been green since the beginning, and PlayStation has been blue since like the PS2, PS3. But Nintendo with the Switch just fully went in on red, and that's now their color again. Like, you know, their logo is red, the Switch logo is red, the boxes are red. They are all in on red is Nintendo's color, which I think is really cool. Because now we have RGB. We have literally RGB, red, green, and blue, for the big three. And they all have a very distinguishable, iconic color scheme. Now, one thing that Nintendo does not have is a defining, like, icon, right? Like, look at this stage, right? The Xbox and PlayStation logos have been around for forever and are etched into the minds of gamers everywhere, right? I mean, the PlayStation logo has literally been the same since 1994. I mean, not counting the color scheme, but the actual, like, logo itself has been the same for 30 years. The Xbox logo was a little different. You know, the original Xbox logo was different than the one we got during the 360 era, but once the 360 era started, we pretty much got the Xbox logo that we know today. And they're probably never going to change it because it's so set in stone. It's so iconic. But Nintendo has never had an icon. Like, they've had, like, obviously they have their logo and the consoles have their logos, but they never had like a unified like logo for all their consoles, right? Right? We've had the Xbox, Xbox 360, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, and they all have that icon on all of them. But with Nintendo, they've always been changing what they've done. They've never had a solidified, like, icon, you know. Right? We had the NES and the SNES and the N64 and the GameCube and the Wii and the Wii U and the Switch 2, and they all have mostly unique icons. I mean, obviously the Wii U was just the Wii with a U on it, and the Switch 2 is just the Switch with a 2 on it, but you get the idea. Like, they never have had a regular, like, this is Nintendo's, like, brand icon, really, in this way that Xbox and PlayStation do. I feel like the Switch is trying to be that icon. It's trying to be that, like, iconic, instantly recognizable, like, icon that's associated with the brand. And it obviously very much has been. But the thing is, it's not going to stick around forever because, well, it may seem like they're kind of locked into it now. I do think that they're going to move away from the hybrid functionality eventually, and they're going to have to make something else, you know? They can't just make Switches forever. There's not going to be a Switch 3 and a Switch 4 and a Switch 5. No, they're going to do something different. You know, maybe they'll go back to doing a traditional home console. Maybe they'll do some other concept. But they're not just going to make Switches forever. At least I don't think they will. I mean, yeah, PlayStations have always been more powerful, and that's pretty much it. But the key difference is that Nintendo has never really done just more power, and that's literally it. They've always done something different every generation or so. I mean, sure, obviously the NES to the SNES was more powerful. SNES to N64 is more powerful. Okay, you know what? Let me slightly take back what I've just been saying. Up until the Wii, it was basically more power. But then, of course, with the Wii, that was the first console launched under Iwata, where he fully embraced the Gunpei Yokoi, you know, lateral thinking with withered technology thing, where we don't go for power, we go for, like, an experience, something unique. Now, obviously, with the Wii, that did very well. The Wii was, at the time, Nintendo's most successful console. And then the Wii U came out and was the exact opposite. And then when the Switch came out, and then it was successful again. And then, of course, people are now wondering, especially with, you know, the $450 price tag and the $80 Mario Kart and all that, and all that stuff, you know, people are wondering, you know, how well is the Switch 2 actually going to do in the end? Obviously, it's too early to say definitively, but I think the Switch 2 is going to do fine in the end. Because if the price point of $450 for the console and is too high, and I know that that's not been the main complaint. The main complaint has been the $80 Mario Kart. But, you know, the $450 for the console itself is still the most expensive Nintendo has ever charged for a console. And if that is too much in the long run, keyword in the long run, because obviously the console sold out
immediately because it's a new console. New consoles always sell out. But like once the hardcores have all gotten their Switch 2, and now they, because like the hardcores are always going to buy the new console, right? Like I said before, I'm going to probably buy every Nintendo console that comes out for as long as they're making them, no matter what. But that's me, and I am not the average person. The average person that may like Nintendo games and like the Switch, but isn't like, I need to have the new system immediately kind of person. They have to wait for like the game they care about to come out or whatever, or enough games to come out for them to get it. You know, that's the kind of person they have to sell the system on. Because, newsflash, the Switch did not sell 150 million units because they sold to the hardcores. If all you had to do was sell to the hardcores, then the Wii U would have been a raving success, and it wasn't. Because the only people that bought the Wii U were like kids and like hardcores. Those are like the only two people that bought a Wii U. No one else bought one, right? But the Switch did insanely well because it appealed to a wide range of audiences and had a wide range of games that they put out fairly quickly, especially in that first year, right? Like they had Breath of the Wild and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Splatoon 2 and, you know, Mario Odyssey and Xenoblade 2, you know, and a couple other games as well. You know, they had a lot of big games in that first year, you know, that really helped push the system forward. Now, obviously, we're going to have that with the Switch 2. I mean, again, the Switch 2 is launching with Mario Kart, right? It's launching with Mario Kart. We're going to have a new DK a month later. We're going to have Kirby Air Riders. We're going to have the new Hyrule Warriors. And we're, of course, going to have a 3D Mario at some point. So the lineup isn't as strong as 2017, but it's strong enough that, you know, it's going to sell. But will it sell as well, as fast to the general public? That's what has to be seen. Because again, once you get past, like, once all the people that are going to buy a Switch 2 no matter what get one, and you have to sell Joe Schmo on a Switch 2, will the games and the prices be enough for people to buy one? We don't know. I mean, I can tell you this for certain, and this is something I believed long before the $80 price for Mario Kart and the $450 price tag for the console. And this is, again, this is by no means some hot thing at all. This is like the most obvious thing in the world, but the Switch 2, no matter what, will not sell as well as the original Switch. It could be $300, and it would still not sell as well as the original Switch. It would sell a lot, it wouldn't sell as much. And you want to know why? Because, for Nintendo at least, the second iteration of something never sells as well as the first. I mean, forget the Wii U and Wii for a second, because that's an obvious comparison. Let's look at the one that I think is more accurate to the current situation. Let's look at the 3DS and the DS. The DS sold, again, like 150 million units. The 3DS sold 75 million units. A lot of units, but not as much. Well, it was like half the number, right? And remember, the 3DS also launched with a, at the time, high price tag, and also didn't have any big launch titles. Like, the Switch 2 has Mario Kart at launch. What did the 3DS have at launch? Pilot Wings and, like, Steel Divers. What riveting launch titles, I know. You know, the console didn't start moving until they lowered the price, and they put out a couple of, like, big games, like Ocarina of Time 3D, Mario Kart 7, Super Mario 3D World. And then, of course, we got X and Y in 2013, and, you know, the rest is history. But like, initially, the 3DS did not do well because it had a, at the time, poor price tag for a Nintendo handheld. And it didn't have any good games at launch. The Switch 2 at least has the benefit of having Mario Kart. But it does still have a high price tag for a Nintendo console. I mean, obviously, PlayStation and Xbox have been $500 for a while, but Nintendo has always priced their consoles at around $300 max. So they're going from $300 to $450, so, you know. Or is the general audience going to pay for that? Again, we don't know. We don't know yet. But my prediction right now, if I were to make one, is that it would basically be the 3DS all over again. Where, in the end, it will do just fine, but it will not hit the highs of its predecessor. The Switch sold 150 million. The Switch 2 will sell 75, 80 million. Solid number. I mean, that's what the PS5 is pretty much at right now, but nowhere near as high as the original Switch. That's my guess, if I were to make a prediction right now. It's going to do fine. It's by no means going to flop. There's way too much momentum going into this for it to flop. And again, it's going to have Mario Kart at launch. That basically guarantees that it won't flop. But it will not do as well as the original. Even after even if they dropped the price, even if they made it $400, even if tomorrow they said, hey, the console is now $400, $450 for the bundle, it still wouldn't. That still wouldn't change it. At least I don't think it would. Yeah, this is not the most playable stage in the world because of that part in the middle. Oh. Well, what the? I guess it could. Oh, that was weird. What the? I kind of like can't get out of that area right there. There we go. Although I'm probably gonna die, like, very easily. How do you get out of this? Like, you, like, can't really get out of this. If you try to, like, jump, it, like, puts you in the corner. He just keeps doing Shoryuken over and over again. Alrighty then. Alrighty then, so looks like that's gonna be it for Valentine Buster. And honestly, that's probably about a good time to call it quits anyway. We've been going for about 3 hours, 40 minutes. Maybe we'll do a little bit longer just so we can hit the midnight mark, but we're probably going to be heading off here pretty soon. But yeah, thanks for being here, though. It was cool having you, and yeah, so yeah, go ahead and, you know, send me an invite on PlayStation, and like I said, yeah, I'll absolutely add you to the family plan, but I need your email for that, so, you know, send me the email on Discord so I can send you an invite. And, yeah, obviously I'll see you next time. So yeah, I think we're gonna go just a little bit longer here, just hit the midnight mark. And then we'll call it quits. Yeah, this stage is this stage is weird. So let me see if there's is there anything else I can talk about that I would like to talk. I've managed to mostly keep up the conversation going throughout the whole stream, so that's nice. Yeah, what else can I talk about though? Talked about the MCU, we've talked about Xbox, we've talked about PlayStation, we've talked about the Switch 2 stuff. Talked about some other things here and there. I talked about the eBay thing. What else is there? What else is there? I'm sure I can think of something to last out these last few matches. But what would it be? Okay, so here's something I can talk about, at least briefly. So, obviously I mentioned, how, well, actually, no, I think I kind of already talked about this already, but I guess I can reiterate it real quick. But when I was talking about the whole, you know, Smash 6, you know, Ultimate Switch 2 Edition thing, I mentioned how I wanted to do, like, a real video on that. Like, not just a discussion, not just a short, like an actual real video. I've actually already made a prototype thumbnail for it, although I'm not entirely satisfied with it, so I'll probably end up changing it, but I kind of already have a concept in mind for what I would do with it. It essentially does kind of hinge on the whole Kirby's, I almost said Kirby Star Allies. It really does hinge on the, how much does, you know, Kirby Air Riders really kind of, you know, how much does that matter? And also, like, how likely would a Switch 2 version of the existing game be, and a bunch of other stuff. I don't know. It's a video. I have some concepts for it. But, again, this is me we're talking about here. So, me saying, I'm going to do a video on something. Yeah, we'll see. But I really need, but, like, I mean, if there's a way to get me to make a video again, it's talking about Smash. I mean, even the Switch 2 wasn't enough to get me to make a real video, you know, even though I thought that was going to be a shoo-in for a video at some point, like a Switch 2 speculation video, but I never ended up doing it because, like, there was no point. Like, everyone else had done a Switch 2 speculation video that covered pretty much everything I would have covered anyway, for the most part. So it just kind of would have been like, do I really need to be another person doing this? I mean, I guess you could say that for the Smash 6 thing. There's already been other videos out there that do a similar thing, but I don't know. But Smash is, like, obviously, like, a big deal to me, so, like, that might be enough to get me to do one. Plus, Star Allies, oh my god. Plus, Air Riders really does throw a wrench into the whole plan that we didn't see before, you know? So I don't know. It's something I'd like to do, but it's just, like I said, like to do. And again, this is me we're talking about, so... yeah. Because, I mean, aside from that, what other main videos would I really do? At least in the near term. I'm not really sure. If I'm being honest. There's some discussion videos I've been meaning to do for a while. Like, I wanted to do a video talking about, like, you know, was the Series S a good idea? Because I know people have questioned that for a while. You know, was the Series S a good idea, or did it actually, like, hold the generation back or whatever? You know? You know, that's kind of one I've thought of doing. You know? And that wouldn't be, like, a video. That would be just, like, a discussion. But, like, that's one I've been thinking of doing. Like, the state of physical media in, like, 2025. One is something I've been meaning to do for a while. And obviously with the whole game card situation, the game key card situation with a lot of third-party games, it's only been kind of exacerbated even more. But at the same time, I kind of feel like other people can probably talk about stuff like that better than I could anyway. So, I don't know if I'll do that one. But the Series S one is definitely one I'd like to do at some point. This match is gonna take a while because of the stage we're on. But yeah, I don't know. We'll probably do like one more match after this. You know, we'll clear, you know, midnight, and then we'll call it quits. I'm pretty much ready, you know, to call it at this point. The stream's been long enough. So, okay, one thing I have not talked about at all this entire stream, I'm kind of surprised I forgot to bring it up, is for those of you that don't follow the community tab at all, or don't pay attention to the channel in any real capacity, I actually updated the logo for the first time, the first substantial update in like 9 years, pretty much. I made a community post about it if you want to read it, but essentially, the logo I've been using since 2016 has only had some minor changes, and I haven't really updated it since. I've been tempted to like update the logo entirely, like, you know, make a brand new logo from scratch that's completely separated from the Yokai Watch era logo that I still have today. For a franchise, because I haven't followed Yokai Watch in a long time. I fell off that series. Ironically, not long after I introduced the logo, because I introduced the logo in like mid-2016, I think. But by 2017, I was pretty much done with Yokai Watch, so it's kind of funny how that logo, being so directly derived from Yokai Watch's English logo, never ended up being all that relevant in the grand scheme of things, but oh well. But I've just kept the logo the whole time, you know? I never really bothered to change it because I never really had any issue with it, you know? And I've been using the logo for so long now that I've been kind of like, you know, it wouldn't even be a good idea to change it. It's so entrenched with me as a brand, you know, and as a channel that I'm not really sure if I could change it anyway. So I thought, okay, is there a way I could update the logo in a way that would make it better without having to completely replace it? And I figured out what it is, and it's something I should have done a long time ago. Because at least up until recently, the Logan 589XP logo was yellow on the Logan, and then 589XP was red in the Yokai Watch colors. Because again, it dates back to that era for me. So how do you update it and make it look better? And also, by proxy, make it a little less Yokai Watch-ish, at least a little bit. Update the color scheme. Now, I wouldn't replace the entire color scheme. I think for as long as I have that logo, I'm going to just keep the color scheme because it's too set in stone. But the XP not being its own color is something that has needed to be fixed for a long time. So I updated it. And now I have a darker red for XP along with a different yellow, a more golden, darker yellow than I have for the 589. And I think it looks better for it. It's not a crazy change or anything, but I think it looks better, and it's something that frankly should have been done a long time ago. And that will probably be the final version of that logo. If I make a new logo, like a brand new logo from scratch, that will be the next logo. I think that color change for the current logo is pretty much as far as that logo is ever gonna go. There's nothing really else to change about it to improve it at that point. That'll just be the logo we use until we completely scrap it. And will we scrap it at some point? I don't know. I kind of feel like I will. There's no way I'm gonna just use that logo forever. I'm gonna have to replace it with something more neutral and modern, but still looks good. But I don't know what that would be yet, you know. So I just figured, hey, as a stopgap, we'll update the old logo to look better. So I did, and it's now live on the main channel and the secondary channel, as well as most of my social media feeds and stuff. So it's pretty much updated on just about everything, even platforms I don't use. Like, for example, I haven't used Twitter since 2019, or at least not really used it since 2019. I have signed in every once in a blue moon to do some minor updates. For the profile, I don't post or anything on there. I haven't posted since 2019, or even used the app. Like, I've only signed in a couple of times since 2019 to do some very minor updates for the account. And so, you want to know what I did? I signed into the account and updated the banner. Even though I don't use Twitter, I updated the banner anyway because it was a historically important account for me, so I may as well. And, all the other stuff is updated. LTT Forums has the updated banner. Odyssey has the updated banner, although I haven't uploaded anything on Odyssey yet. But, basically any social media site that I'm on that has a banner, I've updated with the new logo. Also, the blog, which I haven't used in a while, that also has a new updated logo with the new colors, so... Yeah, so everything's up to date pretty much, as far as I can tell. One thing I have not done yet, though, is the podcast thumbnails for the Nincast. Which, honestly, I should probably just remove at this point, anyway. Because I have the playlists for them anyway, and the series isn't active anymore. I retired the brand last year in favor of just having the regular discussion video icon instead, but what was I gonna say? What was I gonna say, dang it? I've been streaming for too long. Well, we're about to end this anyway. I cannot remember what I was gonna say. Okay, I was talking about updated icons, updated colors for the blog, stuff like that. And I was gonna say something else about it, and I don't remember what it was. Alrighty then, well it's about 12, it's gonna be 12 any second now, so... Nope, I'm afraid that is it for tonight. That was fun, it was nice to do that for the first time in a while, and it was cool to talk with Valentine Buster again. So yeah. This is probably gonna be, I think I mentioned this earlier, but yeah, this is gonna be probably the second to last Smash stream on the Switch 1. I think I'm gonna do one more shortly before, but yeah. So yeah, there we go. So that's pretty much that. So I hope you guys all enjoyed. Again, thank you, Valentine Buster, for being here. It was cool talking to him and playing with him again, first time in a while. Antonio was also here earlier. Thanks to him. Thanks to Jax and everyone else that had joined in at some point as well. So, the obligatory what's next? Well, in terms of streams, I mean, I already mentioned before, I do want to do a couple of streams before the Switch 2 comes out. I want to do one last, like, Switch 1 Smash stream. And I definitely am going to do 100% a farewell to Mario Kart 8 stream, probably on the day before June 4th. And then I will most likely do a stream on the day, and we'll play, like, Mario Kart. Maybe we'll boot up, Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 edition, but mainly Mario Kart. I'll be planning doing a Mario Kart World stream on day one. Not immediately. I'm gonna obviously want to play a bit of it before I do a stream, but later in the day, after I've had my fill, and maybe my brother has had his fill, because I'm sure he's gonna want to play it as well. Then maybe I'll do a stream. But yeah. In terms of videos, I mean, like I said, I'd like to do a what's happening with Smash 6 type video, but we'll see. And that's really about it, I would say, for now, at least. I guess one other thing I can mention really quickly, this doesn't really matter, but it is something I have done recently, so if any of you out there know about, I have a kind of a random channel I made years ago called Customer Support Versions. It's this kind of dumb little meme joke channel where I essentially just take music from games and I just, like, compress the hell out of it and upload it so it sounds like you're waiting on hold on customer support. I made it in, like, 2019. It's like kind of this weird thing I made on the side. And I put a bunch of, like, Persona music on it because I was really into Persona at the time. In, like, 2019, 2020, that was kind of like my peak Persona years when I was, like, really into that franchise. And so I put up a bunch of music from that on there. And then I put out some music every once in a while, but I haven't put a video up on that channel in 3 years. Until recently, when I started putting them up again. I have, like, Hyrule Field from Ocarina of Time, which if you've ever called Nintendo of America, you'll be very familiar with. And I also have, like, the Persona 3 Reload, Tartarus, all 6 floors. I have SMT Nocturne, the unused sound test that's really good that for some reason never made it into the actual game. And then I have the Kalos Power Plant from X and Y, a game I've never played, but I've always really liked that track. And I'll probably have a couple other ones I want to do. I want to do a couple more Pokemon ones, probably like Petalburg Woods, Mount Coronet, Dragon Spiral Tower, stuff along those lines. I'm not saying all of those are going to come out, but just, like, tracks in a similar vein to that I think would fit well. But I don't know, I've been putting those up lately. They haven't got many views because obviously the channel's been dead for 3 years, but hopefully they'll get some views. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Again, it's this dumb, joke channel essentially, and there are people that liked it. I know there are people that liked it. I do have some subscribers over there, but, it's kind of like if people watch it, they do, or if people listen to it, rather, they do, then if they don't, they don't. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter, but it's something I've been doing the last few days, so I figured I may as well bring it up in case anyone wants to look at it. Yeah, it's just, customer support versions. The icon is a blank, a gray background with, like, an old rotary phone. It'll say customer support versions, a Logan 59XP channel in the thing, and all that stuff, but I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I'm just bringing it up for the heck of it. And I think that, with that being said, that really is it for me. So again, thank you all for watching, and yeah, with that being said, this is Logan 59XP, and I'll see you guys next time.